Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на ордів образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Русский военный корабль. Предлагаю сложить оружие и сдаться. Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
Storonci i proszę
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 771 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And things are still heating up in the Middle East, and Russia is also getting flamed as well. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine, and also the ongoing and now inevitable war inside the Middle East, as we have gotten word from the Swiss embassy relaying the message to the American embassy sent to them by the Iranians. Missiles will be flying over the Middle East within the next few hours to the next 24 hours at a bare minimum. Iran will be firing missiles directly at Israel, according to the statement made to the embassy today. We are going to be covering that and everything else that we have in between. We also have a major amount of news coming out of the Ukraine war today, as we've seen a large amount of Ukrainian drone attacks occurring throughout the entirety of the border region of the Russian Federation, from the area of the Rostov-on-Don Oblast up into the Kursk region. We have also heard that the Finns have permanently shut down the border crossings in between Finland and the Russian Federation, and we are also hearing that NATO forces are most likely going to be moving into Ukraine as an alliance-wide front instead of a singular national front or a small coalition of countries, including France and a couple of Baltic states. It will now be a much larger coalition that will be entering Ukraine here in the near future. There's just an endless amount to cover tonight. I did not know that we were going to have this crazy of a news day, and I've got to tell you this in advance. Tonight's news will be an incredibly long segment. Usually, I try and measure out the amount of news that we have to about 25 individual bulletins. Today, we are very close to 40. That was trying to cut it down to be as short as possible as well, so bear that in mind. There will be a lot of Ukraine war news and a lot of Middle Eastern news tonight, so strap in, be ready, because we have to go through a lot. So starting off on our very first breaking news of the day, we got to hear that the Morozovsk airfield inside of the Russian Federation within the Rostov-on-Don Oblast has been hit severely by Ukrainian drone forces and apparently may have lost a large amount of bombers as well as a large amount of base facilities. If we were to go on the map to the Morozovsk airfield, you can actually see it right down here, and you can see that compared to a normal Western airbase, this one is very lacking in terms of facilities, at least for the aviation, the pilots and the ground crews to live in, or really any of the air forces to live in at all. But we can see, however, that at this base, we have a decent amount of Su-34 fighter bombers that have been based out of this area, and from what we understand, this is one of the primary bases that Su-34 fighter bombers have been launched out of to fly their way into the Ukrainian lines and drop off the Fab 500 and now the Fab 1500 glide bombs that have been wreaking havoc on Ukrainian air defenses, and not only that, wreaking havoc on the Ukrainian ground forces to an exorbitantly high degree. The Ukrainians were able to conduct a drone strike on this town today, and interestingly enough, when the drones were on their way to the airfield, we found out something interesting. They're apparently adding boom boxes to the drones because they're playing sick beats as they're flying on their way towards the airfield. So here's the clip.
Дрон с музыкой. Видели когда-то такое?
What in the world? It's like the Pied Piper and the Rats.
Сильно.
Dude, listen to it. You can actually hear it get quieter as it starts flying away. Look at this, dude. This guy's just sleeping, and he hears, like, a drinking song playing outside. So he walks outside, and then you just look up and see a drone flying over playing the music.
Дрон с музыкой. Видели когда-то такое?
That's hilarious.
What happened next was not hilarious for the Russians. We got to see that drone and several others in particular ended up slamming into the Morozovsk airfield. Although air defense appears to have been minimally active at the airbase during this attack, it pretty much was not effective whatsoever. From what we can tell, all drones that attacked Morozovsk did end up hitting their targets, and so several drones ended up causing severe damage to the airfield. Here is the clip, our first clip of the explosion at Morozovsk airfield. There was the explosion right out there in the distance, and you can also see anti-aircraft fire continuing to permeate through the skies in an attempt to shoot down the other incoming drones. With that, that's the end of that clip, and hopefully we can exit out right there. There we go. Because for some reason it was not popping up for me. But nevertheless, that was our first clip of the Morozovsk airfield being hit. We then have an additional backup clip here just to make sure that the first one did in fact work. So here's the second one that we have. We believe that this may be a completely different angle, but here's the second angle that we got of another hit hitting Morozovsk airfield just outside the city. when you see a massive fire pole and then it disappears. Anti-aircraft fire continues to fill the skies as they try and shoot down the other incoming drones, or what may be believed to be more incoming drones. We can then hear the anti-aircraft fire here in this clip. And it appears that the anti-aircraft fire is wildly shooting into the sky, not really with any purpose or any kind of an attempt to actually hit down what they may see as an incoming drone. It's just trying to blanket the sky with small arms fire to hopefully shoot down some of the incoming aircraft. But moving on from that, we then got to see from the town of Morozovsk a small 3-second clip of a lady trying to get into their house or something along those lines and being quickly startled by the explosion. Notice that this woman jerks a whole 180 degrees by the time the explosion ends. Here's the clip. That's the end of that clip, but once again showing that the Ukrainians have successfully hit and caused serious damage once again to another major Russian airfield. The Su-34 fighter bombers are imperative to the Russian air operations inside of Ukraine, much more so than really any other fighter aircraft that the Russian Air Force currently possesses, such as the Su-27, the Su-35, the Su-33, or any other variation of the Su-27 airframe. The Su-34 is a fighter bomber that really has a job in the Ukraine war, and it is to try and drop glide bombs or unguided dumb bombs onto Ukrainian positions and cause serious damage to the ground forces of Ukraine that are defending certain parts of the front line. From what we've seen, these actions have been increasing over prior times, as the Russian Air Force has been taking incredibly high losses of the Su-34 several weeks ago. It appears that they've now changed their air doctrine to be able to conduct these air attacks with the glide bombs much more frequently, but also heavily mitigating the casualties that they take at a single given time. This means that Ukraine then has to adapt, or more so evolve, to the situation and try and destroy these bombers before they even take to the skies. And it appears that tonight they may have been able to make that possible. Not only that, but within the region of Stavropol Krai, we were able to also see that a petrochemical factory has caught on fire, and it appears that this area is not just going to be called Stavropol Krai just because it's called that. It's going to be called that because the Russians within this region are probably crying. So it's now Stavropol Krai. But here's the clip. I like that loud humming sound coming from the background. It lets us know that this man is cooking up some Hot Pockets. But beyond that,
what's he doing? He's got like a truck revving in the background or something? It's just like a loud, deafening sound going on.
It's just a generator or something, I'm guessing. But while that Hot Pocket is cooking up in the background, Matthew, that petrochemical factory over there is certainly cooking up like a Hot Pocket with that kind of a fire enveloping a good part of the facility. We are assuming that that may be knocked out of action. Once again, it is another kind of a petrol-based facility that has been hit or sabotaged by pro-Ukrainian forces and has been knocked out of action for the remainder of the war, once again ensuring that the Russian oil and gas industry is heavily affected, and not only that, the Russian strategic overview of the war due to scarce fuel sources are also beginning to be affected as well. Speaking of which, we have been hearing that apparently up in the Kursk Oblast, another attack has happened on this major city as well. We were able to see the drone come in and actually hit its target, and then we were able to see the large fires that then occurred because of these drone impacts. Here's the clip of the drone coming in and hitting one of its targets. There's the drone. Oh!
Big bomb.
Moving on from that clip and on into the next one, we then got to see the massive fires that began to ravage the area after the drone had hit. It appears that it was consuming quite a decent-sized area. Listen to that snap, crackle, and pop. Rice Krispies can't even make this kind of snap, crackle, and pop. When you see the fire continuing to rage, we're not exactly sure what the Ukrainians hit within Kursk, but whatever it was extremely flammable and then burst into flames. It's not a fuel-based or a normal fire. It appears that it may possibly be ammunition, because from what we can tell, the smoke is gray, or it's mostly a grayish-black color. But beyond that, we do have some very interesting news and some very interesting information moving on out of the Kursk Oblast about what has been happening for Russia as a whole. While most of Russia in the border regions is on fire and currently being enveloped by noxious fumes of defeat and other kinds of things, we have been seeing that apparently the Finns are not that big of a fan of Russian defeat, or at least the smell of Russian defeat, and they don't want anything to do with such a cringe group of people. And this has led them to actually close their borders to the Russian Federation indefinitely. This is something that is pretty wild to see, and I gotta say, it is kind of nuts. Finland has announced that it's closing its border with Russia indefinitely. This has never happened in Finnish history outside of the Winter War and the Continuation War, and really throughout World War II. That has not happened. This is the first time ever since World War II, that Finland has shut its borders to the Russian state with an indefinite time frame. This is because, and I'll explain what's been happening recently, this is because Russia and Belarusia, or Belarus if you want to call it that, actually weaponize migrants. The best way to explain it is that because of the Syrian civil war and the ravages of war that's still enveloping Syria to this day, the Russians and Belarusians offer travel visas, or really just travel visas, the best way to explain it, to these Syrians at really free prices to Russia and Belarus. Once they arrive in Russia and Belarus, Russian authorities tell them that the visa is not correct, and they will have to leave Russia any way they can. They do not give them a flight back to Syria. They actually tell them to travel to a Western country, a NATO country that is nearby. For Belarus, they tell them to go to Poland, and that's why y'all may have heard over several years about the large migrant crisis that has developed on the Belarusian-Polish border, and it's been played in a very interesting way. A similar thing has actually happened in between Russia and Finland, with Russia directing a lot of these migrants that have entered Russia, or more so tourists, and told them that they can no longer stay in Russia and they're going to have to go to Finland. They actually guide them to on their way to Finland and pretty much drop them off at the border and tell them to cross. The Finnish government then has to take on the expense of taking care of these migrants, which, considering that they're not really planning on taking on any migrants, it is a massive expense that was not accounted for by the Finnish government, and they have been incredibly outraged, especially over the past few years of war, because the Russians have been doing this at a very steady pace to antagonize the Finnish government and also incur them additional costs that were not accounted for inside of government budgeting. Because of this, the Finns have decided to shut down the border completely to anyone that is trying to come from Russia into Finland. This is a wildly major ordeal, and hopefully we will see that this is a firm stance by the Finns and they will not be backing off of it anytime soon. The only country that is going to be hurt out of the border shutdown is the Russians themselves, because now, instead of the Finns taking on the migrants and paying their expenses, the Russians will have to do that instead, or they're just going to leave the migrants to their own devices, which is what the Belarusians have actually done on the eastern border of, well, the western border of Belarus. The Belarusian military police and the Belarusian police as a whole actually corral the migrants pretty much into the forests directly on the border's edge and keep them there. If they attempt to leave, they'll either arrest them or they'll shoot them. So that's maybe what the Russians will do as well up on the Finnish-Russian border, but nevertheless, a completely barbaric way to try and get back at another government, to use people as pawns in that kind of a game. Nothing new from the Russians, considering that they do that with their own citizens inside the war in Ukraine, but still a pretty wild thing to see. However, while Finland is shutting down their borders, it appears that there is an even larger plan within the NATO sphere as a whole, as the British, well, not the British, but I put the marker in Britain, according to what we've been able to hear today, and I'll make sure to get the source correct, from a U.S. State Department consultant, Edward Lutwak, he said that Britain, France, and some northern European countries are preparing to send troops into Ukraine. From what we understand, for the best part, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this the best I can. This is once again a French-led coalition within NATO that's apparently now drawn the British in, according to Edward Lutwak, to try and move into Ukraine and help them out in the war effort. But according to Edward Lutwak, in his opinion, NATO countries will soon have to send troops to Ukraine anyway. Otherwise, the alliance will be forced to accept a catastrophic defeat. So I'm not really sure if this is a true statement, because Edward Lutwak actually sounds like he may be slightly pro-Russian, considering that Ukraine isn't that close to defeat. It's not a cakewalk, and they're certainly not pushing the Russians out anytime soon at the moment. but they're also not losing, and it's not going to be a catastrophic defeat. So we're not exactly sure if NATO forces are going to be moving into Ukraine, but nevertheless, a lot of y'all have had many different comments to say about this. Some people are saying that it is incredibly likely that NATO forces will end up in Ukraine. It's really just a matter of time. Some people are saying that they need a little bit more info on that. Of course, Macron has been leading this front, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be going in there any soon. And so a lot of people have had loads of opinions about this. Really, that's the best way I can summarize this. And Matthew, what is your opinion on it? And what is everyone else's opinion on this matter?
All right, so we asked the audience, we said, what are y'all's thoughts about the U.S. State Department consultants saying that the UK, France, and others are preparing to send troops to Ukraine? And it looks like 60% said it sounds like it's very likely, while 17% said I need more info first, and 15% said that sounds very unlikely to me. And on this one, I have to say, for the UK, France, and other European countries to be sending troops to Ukraine, I think that will only happen in an actual World War scenario. I don't think this is going to be happening right now. And also, I don't know much about the source either. So I would say I need more information first, but I'm leaning toward the unlikely side of things for right now. But, of course, anything is possible, but we need some more information. But, Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that, in my opinion, it sounds likely that NATO forces will enter Ukraine at some point, but I don't think it's going to be an entire coalition. It's most likely going to be a French-led group of nations. Most likely France will make up the bulk of it, and then there will be several smaller Baltic countries involved as well. But I have a feeling that no major NATO response is going to be happening where they enter Ukraine. Well, about on that level. I would have to say that that's a little unlikely in my opinion. So that would be my take on that. I'm not really considering that to be that major of an ordeal, and considering that it's just a consultant and it's not someone who's actually involved in the know on if NATO forces are actually going to be going into Ukraine. It sounds a little unlikely to me, at least in my opinion. But with that, we're going to be moving on from that little bit of news, and we're actually going to be circling back around to the Ukrainian frontline news here in a little bit, because while the Ukrainian frontline news is very important and, of course, pertinent to cover and talk about the frontline situation that is happening there, we do have to talk about the ongoing tensions that have been rising in the Middle East, and what we know is now an inevitable conflict that will be coming within the next few hours to the next 24 hours. Right now, currently, Matthew is running the hamster on its wheel on Twitter to see if we can find anything live about any incoming attacks. From what we understand, the Iranians are most likely going to be conducting a missile attack, a missile and drone attack on Israel within the next few hours to the next 24 hours. We have that as a fair certainty. They have not conducted a missile attack at the moment, and I have to quickly explain something about the title. We did try and put Iran to fire missiles, but sadly, I had already reached the cap limit, so we had to go and try and revise the title as best we can, and that was the best title we could come up with. From what we understand, they may be firing off missiles during this stream, or they may be firing off missiles almost right after the stream ends. Beyond that, the news is quite concerning, and war is inevitable inside of the Middle East and between Iran and Israel at this moment. We know this because, according to information that we were able to find here on this channel, Iran is likely to conduct a major attack on Israel in the coming hours. Long-range missile attacks are expected, and Israel is prepared to launch a full response on Iran. We were able to find this information because we had heard from the U.S. Embassy that according to a relay that had been made from the Iranian Embassy to the Swiss Consulate, and then from the Swiss Consulate to the U.S. Embassy in Switzerland, we were able to hear that the Iranians are planning to conduct a intermediate-range ballistic missile and drone attack on the nation of Israel within the next 24 hours at a bare minimum. And according to the statement that the embassy got, it was actually within a few hours from that statement, which a few hours have actually passed since then, up to 24 hours away. So at this moment, a missile attack is inevitable. We know that for certain. It is a very concerning thing to know that a missile attack is certain, and we have been trying to figure out how large of an attack could this really be. And the best way for us to try and figure that out is to see what the Israeli response to this information or their intel is at the moment. And from what we can tell, it looks like they are moving a large amount of air defense forces and really defense forces as a whole throughout the nation of Israel to prepare for what is coming around the corner. We have seen that a massive amount of Arrow 2 surface-to-air missile systems, or more so the missiles themselves, were being transported by truck to the port of Eilat. We're believing that these are most likely going to be set up inside the port to prepare for a defensive against incoming Houthi missiles that are being fired from Houthi-controlled Yemen. when you see all of these missiles being brought in on truck right here. The Arrow 2 surface-to-air missile system is an incredibly competent one and one of the longest range and heaviest hitting air defense systems that we actually see inside of Israel. It is usually based out of the port of Eilat, to the very southern tip of Israel, and is usually meant to try and intercept and interdict incoming Houthi missiles that have been fired from the southern area of the Arabian Peninsula. From what we understand, this posturing is showing that the Israelis are also preparing for the exact same time from a possible proxy attack on top of the Iranian official attack that will be coming here incredibly soon. We have also seen that electronic warfare systems have apparently been moved into the town of Dimona, which is in the middle of the, I believe it is the, oh my lord, I forgot the name of the desert, Matthew. What in the world is the name of this desert down here? It is, oh my lord, you've got to be kidding me.
It's the hot desert, the Sahara?
The Negev Desert. That's what this place is.
I'm not going to guess that in a million years.
Yeah, it was moved into the Negev Desert in southern Israel in Dimona, once again appearing to try and create what we could call an air defense perimeter shield throughout the entirety of Israel, and I would believe that the electronic warfare systems are meant to try and break the connection in between Shahed 136 drones and their operators back in Iran. But here is the clip, where you see the massive electronic warfare system being moved through the city right here.
585 טון, אנחנו יוצאים מנמל אשדוד שער 3, דרכנו לדימונה. הלילה נעצור בבית קמה, אחרי משטח שהכנו. אנחנו בליווי של 26 ניידות ו60 שוטרים. זה לא פעם
Now you see
ראשונה
the
שאנחנו
system
עושים את
is
זה.
truly absolutely massive. To move something like this through a town requires a large amount of road closures, and not only that, requires a lot of planning and effort on the armed forces end to try and move a massive electronic warfare system like this through the country of Israel. Going off of that, we can understand that the Israelis are most likely declaring quite quietly at this point, or really kind of publicly, a state of emergency inside of Israel as they are rapidly and quickly trying to prepare for the attack that is going to be coming down the road incredibly soon. This once again leads us to believe that the attack is inevitable. The Israeli armed forces would not be going through such massive efforts on the ground, such as trying to transport this unbelievably huge electronic warfare system through the middle of an occupied town in the middle of night to try and get this thing set up and ready to go for an incoming missile attack. That would not happen if the Israelis did not legitimately believe that there was going to be an incoming attack here in the very near future. Moving on from that, we have also heard that a Israeli AWACS airplane is airborne. This AWACS airplane is actually one of the smaller ones in the world. It's a Gulfstream G550, and we can see right here the actual Israeli AWACS pictured right there. This AWACS has been airborne for an incredibly long time and is currently trying to still gather information and keep the skies of Israel clear from incoming missiles and drones. If any missiles were to be fired, even from groups such as Hezbollah and Hamas, such as the Qassam rockets, it will be able to pick up these rockets and their flight trajectory and try and extrapolate where they may be landing. Israeli air defense systems will be able to respond immediately to the situation if it ever needs to arise. We can also know that this aircraft is able to pick up incoming Iranian intermediate range ballistic missiles as well as short range ballistic missiles that may be fired towards the territory of Israel. Once again, much like it would with the Qassam rockets that are much smaller being fired from Hamas and Hezbollah, it would be able to coordinate Israeli air defenses on the ground to be able to figure out where these missiles are coming, what air defense should fire at these missiles, and how to shoot them down most effectively and over the least populated areas that cause the smallest amount of collateral casualties that may happen if falling debris was to come down on top of a settled area. This is once again showing us that the Israelis are quite serious, and from what we understand right now, these AWACS aircraft, or at least one AWACS aircraft, is still airborne right now over the very eastern area of the Mediterranean Sea, right off the coast of Israel, trying to keep the skies observed over the area and make sure that Israeli airspace remains as safe as it normally, well, as safe as it can be. It's not normally safe in Israeli airspace, to be quite honest, so they're trying to keep it as safe as they possibly can. Moving on from that little bit of news, once again corroborating that the Israelis are viewing this to be quite a serious attack, we have also heard that Israel is just straight up preparing. According to a statement by Fitux News and also a statement from the Israeli Defense Forces, we have been able to see that the Israelis have 3 different plans that they believe that the Iranians are going to conduct within these next few hours to the next 24 hours. The first one is an attempt to attack Israel by firing missiles, drones, and rockets by Shia militias in the region, based in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. This would mean that Hezbollah and Hamas would be the ones to spearhead the attack and try and fire their own missiles and drones into the territory of Israel. This is something that's normally been happening ever since the October 6th issue of 2023, or really the October 6th massacre of 2023, when Hamas forces overran the Israeli border and began to execute over 1,000 Israeli civilians within an incredibly short amount of time. That's been a largely normal occurrence for that amount really since then, and this seems to be a very likely scenario. The one, however, that it seems the world is ready for at this moment, and it seems to be actually the most likely of all 3, is that Iran is going to attempt to launch ballistic missiles directly at Israel from a distance of more than 1,000 kilometers. A distance of more than 1,000 kilometers means that this will actually be missiles fired from the territory of Iran itself, mostly from its western regions near to the Iraqi border. These missiles will travel over the airspaces of Iraq, Syria, and Jordan, and towards their targets inside of Israel itself. If this was to happen, Israeli air defense forces may actually be overwhelmed, and some of these missiles may make it to their targets. However, if the Israeli Air Force is mobilized rapidly and is ready to shoot down these incoming missiles, along with the ground air defense forces that will also be firing at these missiles, they may be able to stop or intercept most, if not all, of these missiles before they were ever able to hit one of their targets. That would be the best case scenario in this upcoming event. The third scenario is an attempt by terrorist groups to infiltrate Israel from its immediate borders. For this reason, the Israeli Defense Forces and the Israeli government has mandated a curfew that has been announced in the fighter formations, and we've also heard that leave has been revoked within the Israeli Defense Forces, meaning that soldiers cannot take time off from the armed forces. They now have to remain at camp, ready to go at any given moment. We have also heard that the Israeli Defense Forces have mobilized the reserves and have started to move the reservists into the Air Defense Forces and start to create brand new air defense batteries, so that way they can once again bolster Israel's response to the incoming attack. According to the last statement that was made by the IDF here in this infographic, as part of the evaluations in the Israeli Defense Forces, reservists were recruited for the air defense systems in various formations of the IDF according to the need. Once again, corroborating exactly what I said just a second ago. This is once again showing that entirely on Israel's end, from what we can tell, the Israeli military has practically mobilized overnight, especially in the air defense category, to try and prepare for this incoming attack. And it appears that Israel is waiting with bated breath to see what kind of an attack is actually going to occur. Once again, the statement from the Iranian embassy speaking to the Swiss consulate, and then the Swiss consulate relaying the message to the United States, we do know that the Iranians are planning a missile and drone attack from the territory of Iran. Once again, showing that it is going to be the heaviest of attacks that could be caused, and this means that the Israelis are really going to have to be on their toes to try and stop this incoming attack from causing any serious damage. We have heard within the Iranian government that apparently, according to an Iranian official, they're actually not planning on creating an all-out war. I honestly distrust this statement. They said that they are more so aiming to have a limited level of retaliation, and it's really just aimed towards deterrence. While at the same time they told the Swiss consulate that they're going to be bombarding Israel with intermediate range ballistic missiles, a lot like the ones we've seen being used in Ukraine so far. This leads me to believe that this statement was more of a smoke and mirror show and is attempting to take people off guard more so than being an actual serious statement. We also understand that at the exact same time, we were able to get from more intel for you that Iran informed the U.S. via the Swiss embassy in Tehran that its decision is going to bomb Israeli objectives, meaning that they will be bombing Israeli objectives with the missile and drone forces that I was speaking about earlier. Once again, corroborating an attack is now imminent officially from the Islamic Republic of Iran. Moving on into the southeastern region, while they are preparing for a mass attack on Israel.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello. The only thing I'm curious about, though, is why would Iran go out and say that we're about to attack Israel? Why would they go to the Swiss embassy and even try to notify the United States that they're going to do that? Because doesn't that sort of like negate the element of surprise on their part?
Most likely so, but that may also show that the Iranians do not have nuclear weapons. Because if they feel like they have to notify the United States of an incoming attack, they may be concerned that if they attacked without any kind of a notice to the United States may start to strike them back immediately, and they're pretty much left defenseless because they don't have a nuclear deterrent. That may also be tipping us off that they do not have any nuclear weapons within their possession.
It could be. It just seems a little odd to me that they're actually like tipping off the embassy or whatever in Switzerland. It seems like that's a little bit counterintuitive to me, but that's just me.
And I would have to say so. And also, Matthew, was your microphone like cut off or something right there? Because the first time I heard you, went hello, and I was like, "What? Are you okay over there?" I was like, "What's happening?"
I was talking for a solid like sentence, and then you kept going like full steam. I was like, "He's not stopping." I was like, "Hello."
Man, I didn't even hear that entire sentence, man. The first time I heard you is when you went hello, and I was like, "What? Is it like how like are you dying over there?" I was like, "Are you good, man?" I was like, "Are you okay?" But anyways, moving on from that. There is a big question about the Iranian attack before you even get into the southeastern Iran, where literally anything is happening. It's like Mad Max down there. A lot of people have been talking about the Iranian-Israeli attack and what's going to be happening as a response. We know that the Iranians are going to attack Israel, so now the question is really shifted into what are the Israelis going to do in response to the Iranian attack. A lot of people have been saying that it most likely will mean an all-out war in between Iran and Israel. Some people are saying that it will most likely be an isolated skirmish that won't really produce much in between the two parties. But a lot of people have many different opinions about this. And Matthew, what is your opinion on this upcoming clash in between Iran and Israel? Do you think it's going to mean all-out war, or do you think it's going to be a more limited skirmish?
All right. And on this question, we asked the audience, we said, what does it mean that Israel is now vowing to respond with severe force when Iran launches their attack on their country, if it happens? And it looks like 68% said it would mean all-out war between Israel and Iran, and 16% said it means an isolated skirmish, and 9% said, I need more information first. And in my opinion, I think that if Iran is to attack the Israeli mainland, I think that is going to be an all-out war scenario because Israel is going to launch, like they've indicated already, to all the allies and also all of our people as well. They've said that they're going to attack Iran with severe force if anything's launched into Israel. So to me, that sounds like a full-on war that's going to break out, and it sounds like it's going to go pretty quick if Iran does attack Israel. So right now, the key question is Iran really going to carry through with these attacks and potentially risk, an all-out like missile exchange between these two countries, or are they going to sort of back off and let it go, or maybe send their proxies out to do their dirty work instead? That's the real question at the moment. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say it's most likely going to be a full-on war in between Israel and Iran. There really hasn't been a war like this in history in between the two, and it most likely would be a pretty at-range war, most likely conducting of air attacks and missile attacks in between the two for a sustained period of time. It's not going to be the kind of conventional war that you see inside of Ukraine. It's not going to be the kind of asymmetrical war that we saw with the U.S. being inside of Iraq and Afghanistan. This is going to be completely different. Most likely covert precision strikes conducted by Iran inside of Israel and from Israel inside of Iran, also accompanied with large, overwhelming air attacks by both sides. So I would believe that they're most likely going to go into a full-on war, and it's going to be the way I've described. It's not going to be a conventional one where you see the IDF landing on the shores of Iran and trying to conduct a land invasion or vice versa. You're not going to see that, but you are going to see an endless amount of missile and air attacks being conducted until this war, as it will be called, will come to an end. So I hope that does address that well, at least in my opinion. And it looks like the Palestinian bot is gone. Rip. Just like rip. Gone and forgotten. But moving on from that and down into the southeastern area of Iran, we have also been hearing about the ongoing situation down here. Apparently, there's been a large movement of helicopters by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, once again, a paramilitary group of the Iranian government, as they're apparently trying to move large forces into the region to try and quash the rebellion that is occurring at the moment. There go the helicopters. And that's the end of that clip, but just showing some Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps helicopters flying through the southeastern area of the country. We then got to see that in the middle of all this crap going on in southeastern Iran, a meteor shower happens right in the middle of it. It was supposed to be aliens for a while, of course, as everything is always aliens, but we did get to see the orb flying through the airspace right here.
Oh, блядь, look at that.
Oh,
You know, what were the odds of a meteor shower right in the middle of some like major provocation about to happen? That was a little bit weird timing.
that it really was weird timing. So right now in southeastern Iran, there's a meteor shower. Tupac is alive. There's an armed uprising happening. You know, some other people are down there. I mean, it's just an all kind of, it's a free for all in southeastern Iran. We don't really know what's going on down there right now. It's just the craziest of things that are happening. We're going to be trying to make sense of it as time goes by, but today the picture was very small. All we saw was the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces moving into the area in larger numbers, and we also saw a meteor shower occur at the same time. So, with that, that is really all of the major Middle Eastern news that we have, at least at the moment, about the oncoming conflict that is going to be happening in that area. So, with that, we're now going to be moving back up into the area of Ukraine and continuing on with our Ukraine war news, because there is still a massive amount to cover up here. But before we get into that, I do have to say really quickly that the live chat is absolutely insane. Right now, it's at over 120 chats per minute, meaning that 2 chats are coming in a second. And so I have to quickly apologize. Matthew and me are working our hardest to try and get the bots out of here, but the chat is moving so quickly, it's hard to actually see a lot of them and get most of them. So big apology for that. If you see a bot, help us out and let us know who the bot is so that way we can get them on out of here. But with that, we're now going to be moving on up into the area of Ukraine. And we were able to hear that the Ukrainian air defense was able to do an incredibly good job overnight, with 11 Shahed 136s being shot down over a 24-hour period. Once again, showing that the air defense is trying to keep the skies of Ukraine clear and save as many lives as possible. And it sounds like they're doing an incredibly good job at that at the moment. Moving on from that and into our next clip within the area of our location unknowns, we were also able to finally see the drone that flew 725 miles into the Russian Federation and ended up blowing up successfully on its target and destroying it. This is a modified A-22 drone. They finally put out a picture of this thing. It is called the E-300 Enterprise drone. It is based...
The Enterprise? Captain, we're giving her... Oh, she's got Captain.
Captain!
But that is kind of like... Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I mean, I was gonna let you finish that Scotty impersonation, but that is kind of crazy though. It looks like they like boarded up the doors on the plane and just like made it a solid like just gray, just all over it, no windows or anything.
Yeah, they really just gave it a small little paint job and then just put some automation inside of it. But this is actually what ended up hitting that building several days ago. Pretty wild to see them here. We never have heard about these things before, and it's probably one of the simplest modifications to create a weaponized drone that we've ever seen, because it's really just taking a light sport aircraft that has been available in Ukraine for years and just modifying it to where it's remote controlled and also carries around 300 kilograms of explosives. The thing also has a whopping range of 3,100 kilometers, which is incredibly long. To put that into imperial measurements, let's see here. Let me make sure to do that really quickly. That is a range of 1,926 miles. So if we were to measure that from the border of Ukraine, and let's say that the drone is being launched from about right here, that means that this thing is able to fly, let's see here, 1,900 miles? Oh, that would be about, all the way out here into the middle of Siberia. So quite an effective distance. It really didn't even stretch its legs to reach 725 miles. From what we hear, it can actually reach a lot farther into Russia. Really, honestly, if you even put that backwards and say that Ukraine is actually launching this from the same location into Europe, that means that this drone can actually fly all the way from Ukraine to the very tip of Ireland and hit a target there successfully. That is insane range right there. That is the range that Western countries throw off at the mouth and pay millions of dollars to get out of a missile. And this thing is able to do it at about $90,000 to $110,000 with a brand new aircraft. That is wild to see, and I gotta say, it is wonderful to know that the Ukrainians have such a long-range and heavy-hitting drone now within their arsenal. We can also see that they added this on the covert shores Ukrainian long-range attack drones list, and it actually shows how big they are compared to a man right there. We can see the Mugen, we can see the UJ-22, we can see the Lyuti, which is a Bayraktar. We can also see the A-22 right there, now listed. Very small craft when you really look at it compared to a person. A Tu-143 and everything else. And then we can also see the ones that have the question marks because no one knows what they're actually named. We've just seen them, and it appears that they're pretty effective. But beyond that, this is a very interesting thing to see such a simple idea being brought into existence and then being so successful. You have to remember, everyone has to remember, that the A-22 Foxbat flew all the way into Russia, 725 miles deep, over multiple major cities. It flew over Saratov, Tolyatti, Samara, Ulyanovsk, and Kazan's air defense perimeters without being detected and shot down. It also flew over Voronezh, Lipetsk, Tambov, Ryazan, Saransk, Penza, Sarov, and Arazmas, showing once again that either the air defense is wholly incompetent in these areas and is not able to find incoming air targets or even detect them, or the air defense simply does not exist inside the Russian Federation. And if the Ukrainians want to start conducting massive long-range attacks into Russia, the limit is their imagination. There is no actual limit due to Russian air defense shooting them down. Anything could make it into Russia, and anything could end up causing serious, if not critical, damage to the Russian Federation. This is a huge development, and once again, crazy to think that such a simple evolution of the drone has created such a massive leap forward for Ukrainian potency in the war. Moving on from that and into the Russian casualty report, we have also been able to hear that the casualties have been incredibly high over the past 24 hours. Oh my lord!
7 Bobcats in one day? Oh, look, Miss Disa said today and yesterday these reports had errors. People rely on these being accurate. Do better. Oh, Miss Disa's calling out the Kyiv Independent. I'm telling you what. I'm telling you what. 7 Bobcats, though, that is lovely to see. I love to see it.
And I gotta say, thank you, Miss Disa, for also putting that right there. I actually made sure to check your DMs and make sure that the numbers were correct. And I was going to say that the artillery number is incorrect. But thank you for notifying the Kyiv Independent. Hopefully they read the comment sections here, and they will start to get the infographic a little bit more accurate. We've actually, due to inaccuracies becoming quite consistent that Miss Disa has been pointing out to me behind the scene, we've actually been wanting to pick a different infographic, but none of them have a Bobcat on it. So we've decided to keep this one for the Bobcat skid steers joke. But beyond that, 7 Bobcat skid steers were destroyed, which is a very impressive number, and once again showing that the Ukrainians are destroying a lot of them, just a load of them. Not only that, 670 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours. We have also seen that 18 armored personnel carriers have been destroyed as well, along with 48 supply trucks, 9 main battle tanks, 29 artillery systems, 21 drones, 1 MLRS, and 1 anti-aircraft warfare system. Overall, it was a really good day, and it was great to see that the Ukrainian forces were continuing to inflict substantial losses on Russian forces, and once again make sure that they remember that they're the second best military in Ukraine, which they will always remain that until they're pushed out of Ukraine, and then they just won't be an armed force in Ukraine, or a best armed force in Ukraine. But moving on from this casualty report, it is time for us to move on into a big question that many people are always talking about, which is the provision of F-16s. Ukraine's sources say that the F-16s were needed in 2023, but they would not be suitable for 2024. And some people have had some interesting thoughts on that. Some people have said that that's bogus, and an F-16 would always be useful at any point in the war. It's kind of like saying a car would have been useful when I needed to get to work an hour ago, but it's not going to be useful right now because I'm already late for work, and I don't need one yet for tomorrow because it's not tomorrow yet. That's kind of like what that argument is, and a lot of people are apparently having a really big issue with it. Some people are saying that the F-16s just simply aren't suitable anymore, and the Ukrainians ought to fly around with paragliders and see if that'll get them a little bit farther. Beyond that, a lot of people have had many different opinions on this situation. And Matthew, what is your opinion? Do you think F-16s would always be useful, or do you think that they're magically worthless now because about a year has passed?
And more importantly, we asked the audience what their thoughts were on this question, and obviously the poll says Ukrainian sources say F-16s were needed in 2023, but they will not be suitable for 2024. And what are your thoughts? 69%.
Nice.
Said no, F-16s will always be useful. 13% said yes, F-16s are not suitable now in 2024, and 10% needed more info. In my opinion, whoever made that statement, the Ukrainian official that made that statement, should walk that statement back immediately. That's silly to even make that statement. It's better to have F-16s, even if it's a little bit later than before, because the F-16s will be useful. Obviously, they're going to carry a lot of missiles, and they can obviously give Ukraine some air superiority over the Russians. So, to me, I mean, it'd be great if they arrived earlier, but it's better late than never. And, to make statements like this one, a bit silly in my opinion. So I'm with the 69%. Nice. But unfortunately, what say you?
I would have to be with the 69% nice as well. That was a very goofy statement. It is really dumb when you think about it, because that's like saying, I actually needed like $50 to eat, but now I'm just malnourished and starving, so, lunchtime passed. I don't need $50 anymore because I'm just not going to eat again. Who needs to eat? It's like saying that. It's like that is a goofy statement. It's always going to be a useful thing. It's always going to help out. So I would have to say that is something that I strongly disagree with. The F-16 is always going to be useful, and hopefully we'll be able to see them in Ukraine in the summer of 2024, which they should be there by that point. So I hope that does address that well. And also, let's see. Let's see here. I see some people saying, I don't understand the no politics rule. It's okay if you don't understand it. It is just a standing rule on the channel. We do not cover politics. It doesn't have to be understood. It is simply the rule. It keeps things nice and tame. And I've seen some people pushing that rule tonight. And I just have to say, we do not condone that in the chat. We do not take a political stand. We do not take a partisan side. And if you ever expect us to do that, you're going to be waiting for an incredibly long time. Over the course of 771 days, we have never made an official political stance or a political statement on any domestic American issues in support of one side or the other. Neither will we ever in the entirety of this channel's existence. Even after the war ends, we are not going to be picking a partisan side. It's simply how this channel runs. So, if you like that, great, welcome. If you don't like that, I'm sorry, but that's how we do things around here. But with that, a very interesting question was made there, Matthew, about the F-16s. And I know, Matthew, that there are many more interesting questions that people have tonight. Just loads of questions. So, Matthew, what is our first one?
And we have loads of them. And our first one is going to go to Hal Rose, who's the channel legend, who throws in a $33 donation. And thank you very much, Hal, for that support, as always. He says, Enforcer Matt, forget about the NATO 5-year plan. We need this to end now and to get a whole new generation of AI systems. And Putin has perverted this rollout machine learning curve cycle.
And I got to thank you for the incredible support, Hal Rose, and helping this channel to keep on running. And I would have to say that the NATO 5-year plan is a good start, but I always think that the funding should be given as the situation arises at the moment. A 5-year plan is inflexible and will not be able to account for the ebbs and flows of the war. And not only that, for how long it may actually last. We don't know how long it will really last. It could last another year, it could last 5 years, like the plan is actually believing it will. And so, I would have to say that, in my opinion, going off of that, it would be imperative to make sure that Ukraine gets support at this very moment. And not only that, I would also have to agree with you, Hal Rose, on the idea of getting a new AI overhaul for the most part. We do need to make sure to try and keep a cutting edge, and it does seem that the Ukrainians are showing that AI technology does have a limited role in the modern battlefield, and it most likely will continue to grow to be a prevalent role here in the near future. It definitely helps out with reducing the amount of work that a single armed force has to do on the battlefield and keeping up with what is really going on out there. Going off of that, I would certainly have to agree that hopefully there will be some limited AI overhauls of the U.S. armed forces and the Western armed forces as a whole. And so with that, I got to thank you so much for that incredible support, Hal Rose. You're helping this channel to keep on running and be possible. And if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to help this channel to keep on running. And so thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $20 super chat from Jocelyn White, who goes by Josh, by the way. And that is also our in-house coffee expert. So, Josh, thank you very much for that support. And she said, thanks for the best up-to-date news, and take one from the chat.
And thank you, Jocelyn White, for enjoying our best up-to-date news. And I got to thank you so much once again for really being a huge enjoyer of this channel and supporting it to help it to be possible. No one has to support this channel if they didn't want to. And it's always incredible to me that y'all enjoy the channel enough that y'all actually help us to keep this thing on air and existing through y'all support like yours tonight, Jocelyn White. And I got to thank you so much once again for being a longtime viewer, an old guard of this channel, and an absolute legend. Once again, helping this channel to keep on running through and through. Because if it wasn't for if it wasn't for everyone like you who stuck with us for such a long time, we wouldn't even be able to be here right now talking on this stream as more breaking, unbelievable news. It was once again unfolding right before our very eyes. And so, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that support incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the last question of this segment, and then we're going to be moving on into the Ukrainian frontline news and talking about what's been going on across the length of frontline all the way from the northeast down to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant.
And this one is going to go to Say What, another channel legend who throws in a 20 as well. And Say What, he says, you guys work too hard. I'm telling you what, Say What, it feels like we're doing it pretty good these days. A lot of work, nonstop, long days. I'm telling you what. But Enforcer, what say you?
Man, man, I'll tell you this, Say What, it is incredibly hard work behind the scenes on this channel. Some people don't know that because, you know, we get on air and it looks like we have an incredibly fun time, but this is the end of the workday for us for the most part right here. And even then, it's not really the end of the workday. We are constantly working behind the scenes to do all kinds of things. Many of y'all may have actually seen it today. We received the YouTube Creator Awards 100,000 subscribers silver plaque today, which took a great deal of work on Matthew's end for us to actually get it, and we finally got the first one here, and the second one is going to be on its way soon. So we unboxed that and made a YouTube short of that today. And if y'all were observing, and I'll actually tell y'all this real quick, I'll go pull up the short and show it, because who in the hell is going to copyright us for showing our own short, Matthew? I mean, really? Exactly.
I might throw a copyright on it. I'm going to copyright you.
All right, so really quickly, let me show this. So right here, while we're filming this video, and that's me, by the way, if y'all have never seen my face, that's what I look like. This is actually the table, a part of the tables that we're using on our assembly line to ship out y'all's flags. So a lot of y'all have actually gotten them today, and we've been hearing overflowing amounts of happiness with the result. A lot of people have been overjoyed with the packaging, which we're so happy because it took a lot of effort to figure out the packaging side of things. And on top of that, the flag itself takes a lot of work. You would think that hand signing a flag is probably a pretty easy thing, but it actually turns out to be an incredibly difficult process, especially when you do it for the hundreds of flags that we have to sign and send out. There is actually a lot that goes into that, and my hand is still hurting from signing a lot of them, loads of them. I'm not going to get into the exact number because we want to keep that confidential, but it is incredibly large number, and we've signed a lot of them. We actually don't have that many domestic orders here in the United States left to fill. We are going to be waiting a little bit with the international orders to make sure that the few test ones we've sent out make it all the way to their destination before we send out the rest of them, so that way we can make sure to proof everything before we send them all out, and then all of them get sent back to us due to customs errors or something along those lines, or all of them get destroyed by customs officials because they were just faulty for some reason. So this was something big that happened today for us. It was after everything else had happened. I had just gotten back from the post office delivering a whole other batch of flags. It was like, hell, it was a lot of them. It was over 100 flags that we had packed, and I went and threw those into the post office today to go get those mailed out. And so then I had just come back. We had just gotten the plaque. And so I was like, hey, let's go film a short about this thing. So then we filmed it, and then Matthew edited this whole thing together and put this out. So that's, you know, a part of what we do behind the scenes, and that was already around, let's see, that was at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's now 10 o'clock here, and we've still been working ever since then. So a lot goes on behind the scenes. It's just that we don't really show all that.
Wait, you were going to show the short? It's only a minute, man. Just play it. Come on, man.
What do you mean, Jack?
People want to see it.
Okay, I'll show the short. I didn't know that people wanted to see it. I mean, I didn't know that. But let me go get it for y'all, and let me show to y'all. All right, so here we go. Sadly, I can't get it full screen. This is the best I can do, but here's the short.
All right, Andrew, so what we get?
we got the YouTube plaque, the silver play button, and we're actually going to open this right here, right now for all of y'all. But here we go. I'm going to turn it towards y'all so y'all can see it better.
Here we go. Oh, it's a piece of styrofoam or paper.
It's styrofoam.
Oh,
it's like, and oh, look at this. From the YouTube CEO, Anil Mohan. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
I like to see it.
Oh
Massive
my
respect.
goodness, look at
And
that.
oh my lord, look at this.
Man, pull it out of the
Look
box.
at that. Wow. Oh my god. That is really cool
That
looking,
is so
actually.
sick.
Oh my god. That is so
Oh
cool.
my goodness, man, that is sick. Hey, look, there I am. Hey, hello. Let me try to get the angle just right. That is...
I see that you put the part where the gat was in the back.
Yeah, I just noticed that, man. The AR in the background.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, if y'all are wondering why the hell is there a gat on the wall in the reflection, that is actually the wall that we made for the gun review video set. It's still up, so the guns are still on the wall and everything back there. So you know you see it in the reflection right there. Because this is all in the same room. The podcast set that we did that one time was in this room. The gun review video set was also in this room, and now the assembly line for all the flags is in the exact same room. So it's all in the same room. It's just roomception at this point.
Sick.
I want to thank everyone who's been on this journey with us for so long, because it really means a lot to us that each and every one of y'all were with us every single step of the way as the Lee Spring Army continues to grow.
And I gotta say, I second that. I say, glory to the LSA and Slava Ukraine.
Slava Ukrainian, long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never die. And that's the end of that little clip.
Look at that,
right
man. I love that short. That was very good.
Man, that was incredible. That was great. And also, we were so happy to get that award. But beyond that, that was a complete side note. Still, we do a lot behind the scenes, and we are more than happy to do it to keep this channel running and keep people like you, Jocelyn, incredibly happy with the end result. I put so much faith and credit into y'all enjoying what we do every single day, Jocelyn, and I got to thank you so much for appreciating it enough to support the channel and help us to keep it running, because y'all's support is the only thing that helps us to keep financially afloat on this channel and keep everything running behind the scenes. So thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best I can, and we will make sure to take one from the chat. And so what do we got, Matthew?
And the question from the live chat goes to THX1138, who says, does Iran possess any chemical or biological weapons?
From what we understand, they most likely do possess chemical and biological weapons. We're not really sure if they would use those in a conflict with Israel. We're actually leaning more towards the side that they probably would not. But most every country in the world actually has chemical and biological weapons of some kind, but usually in very small quantities. There are very few countries that have it in large quantities. Some of those countries being the Russian Federation and North Korea that I can say off the top of my head. Other ones I'm not so sure about. But with that, I hope that does address that live chat fairly well. And thank you so much once again, Jocelyn White, for supporting that sponsoring that live chat, and once again, helping this channel to keep running. And with that, we are now moving on into the Ukrainian frontline news, starting off in the northeastern area near Veliki Viselak, where we got to see a destroyed Ural. Check it out.
Он не подлежит.
Toasty.
Вот для чего нужны и сетки, и маскировки, и все остальное. А вот по внешнему виду обгорел радиатор, соответственно, сгорела вся кабина. Вот колесо. Вот
I like
сюда
how somehow the tires kind of look like they didn't burn, with the entire truck burned around them.
бак пришелся. Бак
And there's the hit to the fuel tank that burned the
Кабина
whole Ural
выгорела
down.
полностью. Ну-ка, подходи. Кабина полностью сгорела. Тент. И вот заднее колесо.
Was that a leaf spring? It is! It is a leaf spring,
It's a
baby!
leaf spring.
Nice.
It's a thick leaf spring, too. A lot of metal.
Man, that thing is thick. Got the whole bakery. But beyond that, that's the end of that clip. And that's really all we got from the northeastern area. Moving on from that and down into the area around Turney, we also got to see a Ukrainian armored personnel carrier firing its autocannon at the Russians in the Turney area. Bubble up, bubble up. We can see it firing right there. Look at it go. And that Russian is toasting up as more APC rounds come flying in on the target, setting it ablaze and destroying it for good. Slow. And with that, that's the end of the clip right there. Very nice to see. And wonderful to know that the Ukrainians are still using their APCs to lay down some of that heat. And they really are coming in with that heat. Meanwhile, in the Verkno-Kamyanka area, we're also able to see that the K2 was spending its time today silencing some Russian forces. Whoa, dilly. Check this out. Oh my. That Russian is laying low. We see another one running here. It's interesting how they threw in the ambience noises, you know? But we see him getting in the trench, smacking his face into the side of it for a second.
Я не готовився так, щоб конкретно, типа. Я їхав по Айрбасу.
Man, he went, like, Zoink Scoop, they're gunning for me! Rah-rah-rah-y, got it!
You can play that, like, you know, that slipping noise they have, like...
Uh-huh.
And then smash his face on the dirt.
Man, I'm telling you. You could.
Доброго дня, слава Україні, батальйон К2. Хочемо запропонувати вашій увазі серію з декількох відео одного року давності.
These videos, by the way, are a year old, but they pulled them out of the archives, kind of like Disney does with their older animated releases, to show y'all, because it's worth a watch.
This guy looks like he might be related to Jerry Seinfeld.
Do the Jerry Seinfeld voice, Matthew. Do it.
It's not mustard! It's not mustard! Can you believe this? It's not mustard!
Oh, man. that was not as good as the first one, but it was still better than the second one.
When I go to the store, I don't see nothing! I can't do it, man. I can't do it. It's close, but not good.
Oh, man.
So I still sound like the guy talking about, you know, don't live in the desert. There's no food or water out there. I still sound like that comedian. Yeah. I'm more like hell.
Man. You know, the Russians, they're always wandering around Ukraine. And why doesn't someone just come up to him and go, you live in a freaking country! Nothing lives here! Or something like that. But anyways, look at this little Russian wandering around his trench.
The Port K2, блядь, sponsored.
Oh, and here comes, oh, dead on. Jack said, you sound like you're going to rob me.
Man, when does a robber run up yelling and screaming like that? Give me your purse! It's like, that's a stupid robber if they're running up yelling that.
Oh, my Lord. Dude, I'm imagining you doing that voice with a little shiesty on. Going, give me your money! Give it to me now! It's like, nah, I wouldn't give you my money. I go, hell no. But we see this Russian crawling here. Oh, and there goes 2 shots of the fog. And that guy is taking a little bit of a nog. You know what I mean? And he said, what is sugar
the
for?
call sign Sugar.
Hey, Sugar. Hit him. Hit him, Sugar. And you see this fella here recounting the drones. All that stuff. Let's see if there's still music.
Задань ми підготовили.
There's still music, so I have to mute it. Someone said, can y'all stop yelling? What, is this an apartment building? Like, is there some kind of a noise requirement here? What the hell's going on? But anyways.
That's the lady that was next door in the side unit.
Oh my God. Like, dude, that scared me legitimately, man. I thought we were being bombed. Like, I really did.
I knew when you went silent. I said, what was that? I heard nothing in response. You were sitting there in shock.
Man, I was sitting there and I was like, get down! Like I was on the floor. I was like laying down and everything. But well, you see this Russian now crawling forward. Sometimes I feel like this guy when I wake up in the morning. But you see him still crawling on down into the trench.
Man, I feel like that guy right now. Jeez.
So are you all right, Matthew? Are you okay?
I'm hanging in there, but feeling a little under the weather tonight, I have to admit.
Man, I knew. Because, Matthew, you texted me about that, like, 20 minutes in the stream. You were like, I'm not feeling that hot. And I was like, damn. I was like,
man, I'm hanging in there, man. I'm putting on a good face, but I'm telling you what, I'm wanting to crawl like that man right in a hole.
Man, I'm gonna be honest. I feel really tired tonight. Like, you know, now we're both going to start complaining to all of y'all about the 8.5 thousand people here. Oh, my aching bones.
No,
Like,
it's not being tired. Like, I feel like actually under the weather tonight from something. Like, I don't know if it's the weather or like maybe something going around or what, but I'm feeling a little bit down. But I'm hanging in there. You could barely tell except for the odd silence tonight.
I'm telling you what, Matthew. I bet you it was the rolls.
The rolls. No, it wasn't the rolls.
You know, you never know.
I was telling this before that.
Interesting. I did not know. Very interesting. Oh, man.
I still sound like that on a bad day. I don't sound anywhere close to that.
Aw, man. We all have to go crawling into this hole over here. Aw, man.
Man, hot dog man's best day is my worst day.
Hot dog man's on a holiday. Like, we gotta wait for him to come off a holiday to start up because we only get paid by the hour to do that. So,
I heard hot dog man quit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard he threw in the towel.
Oh, on God.
That's what I heard. I've got to get some confirmation, but I'm hearing that I'm hearing things. I'm hearing very promising things.
Well, you know what? I actually just found out he did. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? Threw in the towel.
He did?
Yeah.
Cal.
Yeah, I can't really tell for certain, but considering considering that the fella ain't around anymore, I'm kind of believing that the towel has been thrown. But let's see here. Eric Scholl said, "Hear me out. Perhaps Matt is sick with whatever the enforcer had the other day. Maybe, because it was a pretty quick thing. It was like just that night, and I woke up the next day and felt fine. So that could be the case." And we see the drone coming on in and dropping a bomblet right there at the entrance. Oh my goodness gracious, dude. Do you see that drone? Look at that thing. It went just like, oh my God. That thing was going like 100 miles an hour. And we see them hitting the little bunker again, trying to knock it out. Or Hensley said, "You won't have any jokes if he quits." Yeah, sadly we won't. We'll have to come up with something new. Well, I'll be fine with that, honestly. But, you know, that's a good point. But when you see the next rabbit hole that's about to get attacked, you can see that the Ukrainians don't like rabbit holes. They're very similar to Matthew. They're like, God, they're rabbit holes. But there goes the drone dropping the bomb right in. And it looks like that one may have gotten the folks inside.
That's no rabbit hole. That's a rat hole.
Man, it's a rat. Like Tekashi 6ix9ine. Oh, and apparently they grabbed a beer from outside. They went, "Hey, hit the drink, please." And we now see one of them making a run for it. Oh, this is when the guy smacks his head into the trench. Boom! Right there. Then he keeps running. And he's now covering his face. I guess he doesn't want to be...
That's the same guy.
Yeah, it's the same guy. They're playing...
Look at him go.
Yeah, look at him. He's going for it, man.
Like, Zoing Scoob? You think that's the innkeeper? Oh, Rocky! I stopped!
Like, Zoink Scoob, I think this guy's trying to make a run for it. Run, Raggy, calm down. But it was,
this guy said, anyways.
And I saw someone in the chat come in and they said, they're just conscripts. They don't want to be here. Well, I'll tell you, I've been here for 771 days, and I'll tell you this, conscript or not, the Russians usually commit heinous acts in Ukraine, whether they want to be there or not. So, you know, take that for what you will. But anyways, we can see them bombarding the positions. And some of them went out, but we did not let them reach the end of the forest strip. This guy recounts it like it was a day at the office. We had 3 dissections determined, and we worked according to the second. Those who ran into the third landing were the lucky ones. Ran over. I don't know if he meant they were run over by a car or something, but anyways, getting back to the drone footage. We now see the next bomblet being dropped right on top of that little outcrop right there, and it hit. Then we see a second one fly over just for good measure. On the FPV, you fly up. You have to fly carefully, calculate this distance below you, how you should throw. And on Mavica, you don't have any. If I flew through, it fell on you, realized that you hit it, you're happy. Cool. It's more interesting on FPV drones. It's more jewelry work. I don't know what the hell that means. But we see we're about to find out what jewelry work means. We see them continuing to hit Russian forces down there. Quite effectively, that is. Ah, and there went Lex Luthor. Rip the Lex Luthor. from DC Comics or whatever, out of the chat. And then we can see the next drone coming in. We see them dropping the next bomblet. If you'd like to see the work of the K2 Battalion, put an LSA in the chat. I'm sure they'd love to see it. And we can see the K2 Battalion thanking everyone who supports and donates as this video begins to round on out, with them dropping another bomblet successfully on Russian positions and leaving them to their own devices. That's the end of that clip, but very nice to see what the K2 Battalion did all the way back last year, and we finally got to see the footage today. Moving on down to the Bakhmut area, we also got to see a large amount of Russian tanks being destroyed by a drone. Check it out. Sorry, actually, this is the one Russian tank that got blown up by a drone today. Check this out. There's the tank. And there goes the tank.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but...
Big boom.
Был танк и нет танка. Вот эта тварь маленькая, вот что творит.
Dude, that guy sounds as tired as you, man. He went, blit, tonk, tonk. I was like, dang, this guy is worn out.
He's blowing up so many tanks, he's tired of blowing them up.
Man, listen to him.
Был танк и нет танка. Вот.
It's been a long day in the office, bleh.
Tonk. It's like, dang, dude. It's like, get some coffee in you or something. These are Russians, by the way, that are filming this video. And that's the end of the clip. But we got to see one tank get blown up. Then we got to see a score of them getting blown up, as the Stugna unit wiped out a massive amount of them today. Around 11 Russian vehicles and positions around the area of Bakhmut. Here is the clip. Oh, yeah! Alright, we're going to be muting that. But we can see the Stugna heating up and getting ready to fire. And, ooh, dead on the nail. We see them hitting another position, dead on the nail. Another one, dead on the nail. Here comes the next Stugna. Bada binga, bada boom. Ooh, some pieces went flying. Boonk. Boonk. We see another one getting hit. Boonk. And can we get another one? We will get another one. And we see another one getting blown up. Nice. And we now see a BTR getting hit. Dead on the nail. Now we see some Russians running around. They don't know a Stugna's coming in, though. And any second now. Any second now. There it goes. There goes the Stugna. And dead on the nail. And Hondinit Flow said, is that nighttime or just how the sights look? That's how the sight looks on a Stugna. Very few of them are colorized. Most of them are just black and white pictures. But with that, moving on from the Bakhmut area and a little bit further on down the line and into the area around Avdiivka, we also got to see that a Ukrainian helicopter team did something incredibly cool for a young boy who had been out there for so many times that they have flown sorties. Every time these Mi-24s that we're watching in this clip flew over this small little village, a little Ukrainian boy would go running out into the fields and wave a Ukrainian flag to them as they flew overhead firing off their rockets. Today, this Ukrainian helicopter group, while conducting its sortie, had one of the helicopters land and actually drop off a couple of gifts and give the little kid a hug for thanks for always being a huge patriot to the nation of Ukraine. So here's the clip. I can't play the music, but when you see the one Mi-24 down there landing, when you see the boy right there in the field, he's actually still waving the Ukrainian flag right there where the mouse cursor is. And now see the other helicopter coming on down completely. And when you see the helicopter still flying around. And we see the gunner or the pilot, I'm not exactly sure, has already hopped out of the helicopter and is running to the boy.
Or they're giving him a gift box?
Something like that. It was like a little gift box and some goodies and stuff. When you see the boy already running off as the pilot gets back into the helicopter to go flying off. And now we're about to see this from the landed helicopter's perspective, which is really cool. So here is the landed helicopter's perspective. I believe that this is the pilot, but there goes the other Mi-24 that was circling overhead. Man, that thing looks like a tank.
That thing's massive flying over.
Look at that.
Jeez. You don't understand how obscene, how obscenely large that thing is, flying around till you see it from this view.
So it actually was the pilot who got out, because this is actually the gunner that's filming this video. But we see the Mi-24 still orbiting very close nearby. It's wild to see that thing, man. That thing is huge.
It's like a rabid dog circling its prey.
And we see the boy out there with the box that was given to him by the pilot. And we now see the Mi-24 taking off again. We see the little boy waving to the pilots as they head out on their way. A really nice video. I had to make sure to show this one today because it was incredibly nice. Very cool to see. And not only that, it's incredible to know that the Ukrainian pilots of these helicopters appreciate those acts of kindness by kids like these out there. Once again, showing that they're huge patriots of Ukraine and admire the helicopter pilots who are continuing to do their part in helping out in the war effort. Moving on from that and down to the area of Tenenke, we also got to see the Russian losses on this axis today, as 4 additional Russian vehicles were lost in this area. Starting off with the T-80. Moving a little bit further down the street, we then get to see that another armored vehicle has been lost. It appears to be another T-80. A T-80 BVM, most likely. The video is nothing more than a slideshow. It's a very nice slideshow. And we now see here that they're looking around and showing the damaged BTRs and BMPs that were also abandoned in this area. And with that, that's the end of that little slideshow right there. And fairly interesting to see. But with that, we're now going to be moving on from this clip and on into the next one a little bit further down the line and in the area of Stara Mikhailivka, where we also got to see Russian forces getting wiped out here.
Peter, the grenades are here, and the trap remix is here.
But here's the clip. We see them throwing the grenade in, the Ukrainians scooting off, and the Russians' positions are no more. We now see the Ukrainian going up and making sure to clear it on out, just making sure that it's doubly clear. And now it's good and clear. They're on their way out. But just to make doubly sure, another grenade, another treat for the Russians. Oh, that's really raising the roof right there, Matthew.
The roof didn't even budge, blyat, but the Russians budged.
Man,
Grease them, Vinny.
Man, they're greasing them. Is that a crink? Holy moly, that's a crink. Wait a minute, hang on. Am I sure about that? I can't really tell for certain. I don't know if that's a crink. If it is, we'll see when he turns around, hopefully. I couldn't tell, dang it. That would be cool if it was. But we can see them still firing in there and then getting up and leaving. But this position is clear. But a third grenade, another treat for the Russians. The boof. And it's raising the roof. And with that, that's the end of the clip right there. And we are now going to be moving on from the area of the Donetsk front and all the way down into the area of Novomikhailivka, where we also got to see another failed Russian attack today. Trap remix ensues. We can see the Russian forces getting hit quite rapidly and knocking out most of their forces. And it's a little toasty down there for sure.
Also, while we're watching this video right here, I'm getting news off of Twitter from Visegrad24 that Ukrainian drones are striking the Ingles airport once again, where Russia has many strategic bombers parked. So it sounds like they're smacking them good.
Oh, for real?
For real.
Dang, homie. That's crazy. We'll have to keep up to date on that, hopefully. And thank you for sharing that with us. Moving on into the area of Huilipol, we also got to see an AMX-10 on the move. It wasn't firing, it's just on the move in this picture. Really cool to see, but not really a lot more to add. Moving on from that and out of that area, it's time for us to move on down to the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which once again is being put in jeopardy today as one of its two external power supply lines had been disconnected due to actions today, combat actions around the power plant, and it's down to a singular power line again. They are currently trying to reconnect the second power source, but once again showing how fragile and dangerous of a situation currently permeates itself around the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant area, and has been for the latter part of 2 years. But moving on from that and out of the area of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, it's time for us to get on up to Kyiv to cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky. And so without further ado, here is the speech. Speech!
Speech!
And this is the one.
Здоров'я, шановні українці і українки, провів ставку. Перш за все, щодо виробництва та постачання дронів та РЕП на цей рік. Був детальний звіт щодо контрактів, все максимально конкретно, жодних пустих слів, тільки чіткі письмові домовленості з виробниками, чітке фінансування, чіткі терміни постачання. Дійсно добре попрацювали всі, хто відповідальний за цей напрямок. І щодо дронів усіх видів та РЕП ми будемо міцніше. Аналогічне завдання поставив по ракетній програмі. Як по дронах і РЕП, все до деталей опрацювати, щоб Сили оборони України могли розраховувати на надійну і зростаючу ракетну опору наших дій. Також на ставці був ще один детальний звіт головкома щодо усіх тих точок на фронті, де російська армія розраховувала мати успіх зараз. Вдалося стабілізувати наші позиції. Головком доповів щодо наших дій, які не дають окупанту просуватись. І в умовах дефіциту снарядів, суттєвого сповільнення у постачанні такі результати дійсно дуже хороші. Я вдячний усім солдатам і командирам, які забезпечують результат на полі бою. Стійкість кожного – це стійкість всієї нашої України. Окремо була перша доповідь нового керівника Служби зовнішньої розвідки генерала Іващенка щодо конкретних дій на посаді, конкретної роботи СЗР. Затвердив заплановане. Звичайно, протягом дня були необхідні доповіді щодо ситуації в областях. Особлива увага Харкову, наслідком російських ударів по місту. Сьогодні через удар шахедів по звичайній житловій забудові, на жаль, 4 людини загинули. Із них 3 рятувальники нашої ДСНС України. Хлопці прибули за викликом після першого удару. І відбулось друге влучання. Підла російська тактика. Мої співчуття усім рідним та близьким. Говорив сьогодні з військовими щодо того, як дати більше захисту Харкову, саме з точки зору ППО. Таке ж завдання у всіх наших дипломатів. Посилення ППО для Харкова, всієї Харківщини, Сумщини, південних регіонів. Це абсолютно нагальна потреба. Я дякую кожній країні, кожному лідеру, які зараз в комунікації з нами шукають можливості допомоги. Це абсолютно неприйнятно, що стільки країн світу досі думають, як протидіяти терору, хоча не вистачає лише кількох політичних рішень, кількох систем ППО, які могли би принципово змінити ситуацію. Продовжимо роботу з партнерами. Ще одне. Я хочу відзначити воїнів, які проявили себе цими днями найбільш ефективно на передовій. 128-ма окрема гірсько-штурмова бригада, 66-й артилерійський дивізіон, 406-ї окремої артилерійської бригади, 35-та окрема бригада морської піхоти та 126-та окрема бригада Сил територіальної оборони. Дякую всім вам, воїни. І особлива вдячність сьогодні воїнам Центру спецпризначення «Омега». Це один з найбільш ефективних в боях та найбільш досвідчених підрозділів нашої Національної гвардії України. Саме в цей день, 21 рік тому, «Омега» була заснована. І у час цієї війни хлопці проявляють максимальну боєздатність. 11 воїнів «Омеги» заслужили звання Герой України. Із них 8 посмертно. Слава усім, хто б'ється заради України, усім, хто захищає і рятує життя наших людей. І хай буде вічною та світлою пам'ять усіх українців і українок, які віддали своє життя заради нашої держави і народу. Слава Україні!
And Hiram Slava. And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 771 of the news. And that moves us on into the second segment, where we get to talk to all of y'all. We get to talk to y'all about all kinds of things. Anything you want to talk about, really. If you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. We will. We will do it. And so, Matthew, take it away.
All right, so we have one last poll to address, and the poll question says the CEO of Yamaha Music, apparently of the Russia division, apparently they must have one, according to sources I'm seeing on Twitter, allegedly, it says the guy was found dead in Moscow in a 5-star hotel, and do you suspect foul play? 46% said it sounds like an assassination. 26% said what really happened though, and 12% said it was likely a natural death. And from the reports, it sounds like he was 55 years old and he had heart failure. That is the reports that's coming out on Russian state TV. But then again, when big time CEOs start dropping dead in Moscow, that sort of brings up some suspicions to me. So I don't have any information to say it was an assassination, but I wouldn't rule that out either. But it sounds like it might have been maybe a natural death. But Enforcer, what say you?
Sounds like a natural death to me. Not every death inside of Russia of a major business person has to be an assassination. It probably was actually a heart attack or something along those lines, but it's not really like the Yamaha music CEO of the Russian division is going to have incriminating information that's going to lead to Putin's arrest, if you know what I mean. So I'm highly doubting that. I'm highly doubting that the guy was off. I'm believing more so it probably was a heart attack. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And with that, I'm not gonna lie, Matthew, I'm not feeling that hot either now. I don't know what happened, but
What?
yeah, but for some reason my stomach doesn't feel that great again. I think you spread it to me just by talking about it. But what do we got for the rest of everything, Matthew? The super chats, the live chats, everything in between. Take it away, Matthew. Take it away.
All right. So now it is time to jump back into our super chat questions. We've gotten a lot of really good ones tonight, and our first one up is going to go to Neil Vizanon, who puts in a $20 donation. And I'm sorry, Neil, I don't mean it to be distracted. I saw Jezla in the live chat say Russian 5-star hotel cringe. That's what I was thinking when I said it, but I didn't mention anything about it. But Neil put in that 20, and thank you very much, Neil, for that support. He says, "Hey guys, not feeling great." It seems to be the theme of the night. He says, "Probably not going to make it through the show tonight. Whatever crazy people do tonight, great work, and long live the LSA. And two group requests, and one, can we get the marmot early so I can all see it and take a question?"
And you know what, Neil? We will oblige their request in a second. I want to make sure to address your super chat first, and then we will get to the marmot in the live chat. So, first off, thank you for the support, Neil, and thank you for helping the channel to keep running. Second, I hate to hear you're not feeling great because it sounds like everyone's not feeling great tonight. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just Thursday. People don't feel great on Thursdays or something like that. But nevertheless, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, although you were not feeling the greatest. And also, if you're still here right now, thank you for hanging in. I don't think Matthew's been hanging in all that well, and I know I'm going to start not hanging in all too well here in a second. So I got to say, thank you for being here with us tonight. I'm sure it took a lot of effort, and I hope that you were able to enjoy it. Also, thank you so much for enjoying the work we do and everything that we've been doing behind the scenes. Really quickly, actually, I'm going to send something over the Discord to show you because I actually took a picture that I haven't really shown around anywhere that I think y'all would probably find pretty cool. So let me send it. Oh, actually, I already sent it to our DMs, Matthew. Look at that. So let me go and pop this thing up on screen because this is actually what we're doing most of the day right here is signing flags. You can see that all the signatures look the same because I'm hand signing them all, and it's a lot of effort, and it's actually really tiresome. Believe it or not, it takes a lot of effort to push down that golden Sharpie to get that signature to look that way each time, and it's actually ended up wearing out my hand pretty bad. On top of that, I'm just generally tired because we do this all day from when I wake up to when we run the stream, and then after the stream, I'm still working a little bit, answering messages and things like that, and then I'm just trying to get the coffee to wear off. So it does take a lot of work, and I got to thank you so much for appreciating that and really enjoying it because I would move mountains for this channel. I absolutely love everyone on here. I think y'all are an amazing community, the best one out there, truly. And even not feeling that great, I will make sure to put on the best news that we can possibly pull off on a given night, just for y'all. And I got to thank you so much, Neil Vizanon, for appreciating that and appreciating our dedication and effort to this channel and our dedication and effort to the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And now it is time for us to oblige your two group request. It is time for that thing, Matthew. It's that famous thing on this channel. It's Alan the Marmot. And so, here we go.
Alan!
Hey! It's the Marmot!
Hello there.
Oh, hello there.
Good sir. How do you do today? Are you a little under the weather? Oh my goodness, dearie me. You blithering idiot. Get yourself together. Stop whining. That marmot said, "Enforcer man, pull it together. Pull it together, man. Stop being so whiny."
Aw, man, I'm suffering from withdrawals. Aw, man. Aw. But anyways.
Man, on second thought, Enforcer Matt's not that whiny compared to that fly. Damn.
Damn! that fly is whiny. It's very whiny. But I still gotta say, it's great to have the marmot. I absolutely love the marmot. And doesn't everyone just love the marmot and the fly? The marmot and the fly together again. It's like Toad and Frog or whatever it is, together again. And I gotta say, it's wonderful to have this here. And I gotta thank you, Neil Vizanon, for allowing this marmot to be shown so early on in the questions. I mean, usually it's shown near the end. But still absolutely incredible that it's here right now. I got to thank you so much once again for supporting this channel and helping it to keep running and helping us to have a moment with Alan the Marmot right here on screen. It's a precious marmot. It is an ugly marmot, and it also has that dump truck. Boom. Good googly googly. That thing is juicy.
Jacobo Lugosi was thinking when he was painting this marmot, man, this marmot would be so much better if I caked him up.
that Jacobo Lugosi or whatever his name is, he was like, man, you know what this thing's missing? And the French king was like, what? That dump truck of an ass. And then the king was like, brilliant idea, paint it on. And then they just gave it that.
And then some Scottish guy standing around said, are you really suggesting that you put a fatty on the marmot?
Okay, mate. You're saying that we put a fatter on that marmot? It's like, yes, Jacobo Lugosi, that's what I'm saying. You give that thing an absolute ass. Like, you give this thing an ass bigger than Chris's mom's. I mean, this thing is going to be the attention of the street. I'm telling you that. But beyond that, I got to say once again, Neil Visnant, thank you so much. Oh, my Lord, Matthew. You know, playing the best one. Let him have cake.
Man.
Oh, my Lord.
Let who have cake?
No, that's what.
Oh man, I would sure love a piece of that cake.
Does it come with frosting?
Oh.
Man. It is sick bastard. Still, thank you so much for the support, Neil Visnant. I hope you all enjoyed the Marmot appearance early. And for all of the people who are here tonight who have never been here before, this is a running channel joke because on this channel we don't just cover the news during the question segments. We'll talk about whatever that anyone wants to talk about it, so it doesn't have to be Ukraine related. It could be anything. And so for some reason we got up onto animals that live in Canada, and one of them was the marmot. And so we pulled up the marmot, the Wikipedia page about it. We scrolled down to this painting, and then we observed that this was the ugliest painting we'd ever seen of a marmot. It looks more like a giant rat than a marmot. So because of that, we started making fun of it. And then people thought the segment was so funny that we had to do it again and again and again. So it really has become a nightly request at this point for us to show this rodent. But it really is a fun request because we love doing it. It's always funny. And not only that, everyone absolutely enjoys it. Hopefully our LSA historians here on the channel can tell you all what day the marmot made its first appearance, because it was during this year, but I don't really know exactly when. But still, with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for supporting Neil Visnant. And let's get that live chat, Matthew.
All right. And the live chat question is going to go to Bobo Uzala, who says, should we boycott the Olympics?
That's up to y'all. That's up to y'all if y'all boycott it or not. Me personally, I don't really watch the Olympics. You know, kind of a hot take. I've never really considered the Olympics to be interesting enough to watch. So if y'all boycott it, hey, I've been boycotting it my entire life, so nothing big to me.
Why would we boycott it? What's the rationale behind it?
I think it's the Russians are going this year, and they're not going to be on like a fake team. They're going to be their actual team.
That's a tough one. Because like at the same time, the Russians are just one team. I get why people would want to boycott it because they're there, but at the same time, it's like all the other nations are there, so you're essentially screwing over all the Western nations because of one Russian nation showing up. So it's a close one.
I would have to say, in my opinion, I probably wouldn't, because the Russians are probably going to get beasted on anyways in every single sport for the most part, because they usually do. So I wouldn't really. I don't know if I boycott it or not. I don't watch it anyway, so I kind of boycott it by default. But it's really up to y'all, because it's a question that I find kind of hard to answer. Do y'all want to see the Russians get dunked on by everyone, or do you want to see no one dunk on them and just completely forget the event? That's really the question that we're asking here. So that's up to y'all. So tell me what y'all think about in the chat. Do y'all think y'all should boycott it, or do y'all think y'all shouldn't? I'm interested to know. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Bernard Rubin, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Bernard, for that support. Hey! He says, so is the upcoming war going to be a part of the ongoing Israeli-Hamas war, or is it going to be its own thing, like an Iran-Israeli war of sorts?
It's going to be kind of an Iran-Israeli war. Well, actually, no, it's going to be more of an Israel-Hamas war extension. Because the reason why the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders were killed in Damascus or Damascus, whatever you want to call it. Well, it's because they were supporting Hamas and Hezbollah with arms and training, and that's why they were attacked and killed. So this is really more of an extension of the original conflict that broke out on October 7th of last year. So I'd have to say this is more of an extension or an expansion of the Israeli-Hamas conflict, more so than it is the Israeli-Iranian war. But with that, I hope that does address that well, at least the best I can. And thank you so much once again for asking an interesting question. And thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. If it wasn't for folks like y'all, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. And so, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to JD Macco 23, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, JD Macco, for always being a longtime channel legend as well. He says, congrats on the silver play button. LSA forever.
And thank you so much, JD Macco 23, for the congratulations on the silver play button. It is incredibly cool to finally have one. We actually passed 100,000 subscribers an incredibly long time ago. To actually show you all something here, there we go. Let me go. I don't know why I said it like that, but let me go back over time and show y'all the past year in total. Here we go. Here's the whole entire year. And then we go over here. You can see an entire year ago, we were at 114,854 subscribers. So, you know, we had been at 100,000 subscribers for quite a while. If we go to the lifetime of the channel, you can actually see that we passed 100,000 subscribers way back on September 13th of 2022, which was over a year and a half ago. But we did not get the award then. We got it a lot later. It's crazy to think of how long ago it was that we passed 100,000 subscribers, because it doesn't really feel like that long ago, but it was a year and a half ago, and now we're almost up to 200,000 subscribers. So really cool when you think about it, like how far the channel's come before we even got the YouTube award, but now we have it. We're going to have it forever. It's a silver play button. And also some people were asking, is there like a special inscription on the play button? Yes, it actually has our channel name on the play button. So it says The Enforcer on the plaque. So I gotta say, thank you so much, JD Macco, for congratulating us on the YouTube Creator Award. I don't know if a lot of people in the Ukraine war sphere have one. I know that we have one now, and I'm incredibly proud to be able to have one. It's been a lot of work and effort to get past 100,000 subs and to even get that award at all. Huge credit to Matthew for reaching out and getting that done. And thank you so much once again, JD Macco 23, for supporting this channel so that we can continue to be here, hopefully to reach 1 million subscribers in the future. And so with that, long live Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, I will say this. I got to give YouTube their props as well, because I read the terms and conditions, and YouTube is not obligated to give out those awards to channels that get over 100,000 subscribers. So I will say a big thanks to YouTube for sending that, because it was their choice to send it. They reviewed our channel, looked over everything, and said they really like our work, so they sent us a plaque in commemoration of that. So we do have to give YouTube due credit when it's due, and I think this time it is. And thank you for also giving us 2 plaques, one for Enforcer's office and one for mine, because they recognize both Enforcer and Enforcer Matt. So what do you know? But with that, we're moving on to our next super chat, and this one goes to Old Warrior, who puts in a $20 donation and says, as long as Russia has glide bombs, F-16s have a job.
And that is true, Old Warrior, and I completely agree with that. Thank you for being an old guard of the Lee Spring Army and helping this channel to keep running. And I also have to say, yes, that's true. The F-16s will always have an air-to-air mission to conduct if there are Su-34s trying to use those glide bombs in Ukraine. They will always be busy because they'll always be trying to either stop the glide bombs before they hit their targets, or they'll be stopping the aircraft that are carrying the glide bombs in the first place. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you, Old Warrior, who have continuously been supporting this channel and helping us to keep it rolling that makes this thing possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jake, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Jake, for your support as well. He says, congratulations on that silver play button plaque, and now on to the gold.
Hey, onto the gold. I like that. I like to hear that. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you so much for having some high expectations, Jake. We are going to be trying to shoot for gold. I hope that we will be able to reach gold and hit it with flying colors and just get up there really easy and really enjoy things from that point on. And I think life will be really enjoyable once we get that gold play button. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But still, thank you so much.
I want that diamond one, man. I want that one that's made out of diamond.
Man, I want that diamond one too. I'm telling you what. But still, thank you so much for the support, Jake, and wanting to see us all the way up there. And so with that, thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, by the way, I have to make this clear, y'all. I looked up the definition of fellow because some of the poll options say fellow in it. So let me pull it back up again so that way I can reference it. Someone did ask this question, by the way, and I was like, you know, it means a person in the same position, involved in the same activity, or otherwise associated with another. So I am correct. I am correct. I pulled out Webster's for this one. And fellow does not just mean a man or a boy. It also means that other thing I just mentioned as well. Also, NAFO says a fella is a fella, and that could be anybody. But Enforcer, do you have anything to weigh in on this fella?
I would have to say, fella, that that's an interesting question, fella. Hey, do you have a unique fella? I'm about to beat your ass if you don't, fella. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying?
Man, should I join NAFO? Should we?
I don't know. I mean, actually, I have to say this really quickly. We are honorary members. I saw someone ask that question. I'll answer it. We're honorary members of NAFO. I'm not a full-on member of NAFO. I lead the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army is my community, and the Lee Spring Army is not going to, well, that sounds a little bit demeaning, but it isn't. I'll explain what I mean by it. The Lee Spring Army is not going to be subservient to NAFO. The Lee Spring Army is its own community doing its own thing. And I want to make sure that we lead the Lee Spring Army the way I believe a community should be led. Not saying that NAFO is terrible. NAFO is a pretty good group. It's just that some of the things that they do, I don't necessarily agree with myself personally on how a community should be run. And that's why the Lee Spring Army has always been a completely separate organization. You can be members of both, and we're always happy to see members of both, like Old Warrior, who is one of those people, or Super Bonker 9000, who is a famous NAFO member, who is also a dual citizen of NAFO and the LSA. It's just that I can't be a, well, you know, like as far as the deal goes, I can't be a NAFO fella, you know, officially, because then that means that the LSA falls under NAFO, and I want NAFO and the LSA to be side by side working together for the same cause. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least how that works with us. And also, well, you know, that's really all there is to it. But with that, I hope that does address that question well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Captain Kirk, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Captain, for that support. He says, what can we expect if the 3 countries send troops to Ukraine?
If those 3 countries, well, if the United Kingdom, France, and some of the Nordic countries sent their forces into Ukraine, we would probably see that NATO would get dragged into war eventually, because the Russians would consider that to be a direct provocation, and they would most likely react to it that way. That's at least what I would be assuming at the moment. It seems to be the most logical idea, Captain Kirk, that I could think of, because having armed forces directly involved in conflict usually makes you an armed combatant in that war. It makes you an active member, and then you become a target. So going off of that, I would have to say it would probably be a full-on war in between NATO and Russia at that point, in my honest opinion. That's what I would believe. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And let's see real quick on the poll, who watches the Olympics? 46% said, no, I'm a wise fellow. 36% said, yes, I am a cultured fellow. And 7% said, what? I'm an ignorant fellow. And 10% said, unsure. And on this one, honestly, I would say, no, I don't watch it. And the other stuff about fellows were just kind of like comical stuff. But seriously, though, the Olympics, to me, it has value as a political tool. But I really don't watch it because it's really not that interesting, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a little bit slow. I used to watch the skiing part of it last year. I could only watch that for maybe a few hours, though, and then I was done with it. But I guess if you're involved with it, it's probably a lot of fun. But if you're just watching it, it's kind of a little bit boring, in my opinion. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I would have to say, I don't watch it. I never really have, and I find it to be kind of boring. That's my honest opinion. So, also, by the way, don't think that I'm uncultured or anything. I just don't watch sports at all. Like, you can ask me something about U.S. football, I'll have no clue. You can ask me about European football, I'll have no clue. Ask me about F1, I have no idea. NASCAR, hell if I know. Like, I just don't watch sports. It's just something that I cannot get into. I'm always busy, and so I don't really have a lot of time to watch that kind of stuff either. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And I thank you all once again for weighing in on if y'all watch the Olympics or not in the first place. It looks like most of y'all don't. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And Ing X said, I only watch the Olympics for the women. Yeah, I mean, to each his own.
All right.
But anyways.
Okay.
Man, he chose option number 4, only for the women. But anyways, moving on to our next super chat, we have a $20 donation from Flash1. And thank you very much, Flash, for that support as well. He says, hi, gents, and thanks for all the effort and signing the flags and the time you spend for us to give us the news. I have to go, but slov Ukraine and get a live jet.
Hey, and we will get a life. But still beyond that, thank you so much once again for the support, and thank you for helping this channel to keep running. I have to say, thank you so much, Flash1, for being here forever. Of course, being one of our Australian viewers as well. And thank you for enjoying the effort that we've been taking on signing these flags. My hand really appreciates that. Thank you, because it takes a lot of effort to do that. And also, it takes a lot of time. It's actually, I think, the slowest part of the entire process is hand signing each one. But it's what we got to do. And I hope y'all are all loving the flags when y'all get them. I know that so many of y'all have started to get them today and yesterday, I believe, a little bit. And so I hope that a load of y'all have really been enjoying it. And thank you so much, Flash, for also appreciating all the news that we put out here on this channel. I try my best. I try my hardest to make sure the news we put out is as accurate as it can be, as well researched as possible. And tonight I feel like we did that incredibly well. The title, though, the title was not what I was looking for, because the title doesn't really explain what is happening too well. There's a character limit, and usually we always get crap because the titles have to be shortened down. The title was supposed to say Russian airbase blown up, Iran 2 fire missiles. The problem is that the word 2, T-O, will not fit. But an extra S on fire could be fit. So then I had to go from Iran 2 fire missiles to Iran fires missiles, which makes it sound like a present tense thing, although it's not supposed to be. It's just because it's a limited character kind of a deal. And so we had to do the title that way to try and make it work at all. Otherwise, I can't put the usual the runner behind the header, and so then, you know, there would be a huge issue there, because that runner behind it that says breaking Ukraine war news with the enforcer day such and such actually does a lot to place us in the algorithms nightly for y'all to even see this stream. So if that's not identical every single night, most of y'all will not see the stream. So that has to remain the exact same every single night. And then the main title, we have to figure out a way to fit in the major news points there. So the title tonight I wasn't too happy with, to be honest with you, Flash. It could have been a little bit better and a little bit better described, but we have to do what we have to do. But beyond that, thank you so much once again for support. Thank you for enjoying the news and our efforts in signing those flags. I'm more than happy to do both of them. We absolutely love doing this. I cannot say this enough. This is actually my dream job, Flash, and I can't tell y'all how happy I am to do anything in running this channel, making videos. Some of y'all may have seen the video that was put up today that was taken down simply because the news was outdated so quickly. I was like, this is already old, we're taking it down. So, you know, and we did that because it wasn't high quality enough. And then, you know, we run the stream, we sign the flags, we do a whole bunch of stuff in the background. We're still working on new merch drops in the future. We're also trying to work on long-form documentaries. I mean, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And I gotta thank you for enjoying all of it, Flash1, and just really appreciating what we do on this channel. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And Matthew, did Flash want a live chat?
So Flash did, yes, he did want a live chat question. He did. And Flash's live chat question is going to go to Tina chopping it up. He said, how can Ukraine defend against the glide bombs?
Ukraine's best defense against the glide bombs is to have surface-to-air missile batteries that can reach out far enough and hit the Su-34s before they're even able to launch the glide bombs. That's actually their best defense, is to just make sure that the glide bombs never leave the planes that they're coming in on. Beyond that, if the glide bombs are dropped, then the next best thing is to try and have a radar that's sensitive enough that it can actually pick up the incoming glide bombs and then try and get some sort of air defense system that can then shoot down the glide bombs before they hit their targets. Those are the two separate ways that the Ukrainians could try and deal with the situation. The easiest of the two would probably be to get an air defense system that can reach out and shoot down those Su-34s before they even drop the glide bombs and send them on their way. So with that, I hope that does address that live chat well. Thank you so much, Flash One, once again, for sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Miranda Nelson, who puts in a $20 donation. Hey! And thank you very much, Miranda, for that support. And they said, we haven't heard about attempts to assassinate our beloved leader, Mr. Zelensky, since the early days of the war. And surely the Russians haven't given up on trying. And is it a hush-hush topic for the press to talk about? Question mark.
It is a hush-hush topic. Everyone is always about to be killed. Literally everyone is living their final day. I'm not lying.
And so I hope that kind of addresses that. Well, all jokes aside, yes, there have been assassination attempts that are still being tried on Zelensky at this point. So going off of that, I would have to say yes. It's just that we don't hear about them a lot, and the Ukrainians probably don't want to talk about them a lot, because then it lets the Russians in on how much they knew, how much they stopped, and how close they got, if they're not getting that information back anyways. So I hope that does address that the best I can. But still, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And that is hopefully the best answer I can give, is that yes, the attempts are still happening. It's just that we don't hear about them that much. But with that, we are on to the next one.
And real quick, I saw the CIA accounts payable Black Ops accounting put in a 5. And I think they've sent us the wrong invoice. They said invoice number 001.23.7 thousand. They said body disposal activity.
What?
Section 702 related wet work, EMP prep. Wet work? No. We're only in the dry work, not the wet. But Enforcer, what say you?
Sometimes we work damp. Usually it's dry, however. But I do got to thank you for the support, CIA Accounts Payable Black Ops Division. And I got to thank you so much for giving us the wrong invoice. Sadly, we do not do body disposal. Usually body disposal is taken up by waste management, or the guys at least in waste management. I hear that they're a part of some kind of an outfit or a crew or something like that. But we don't do that here on this channel. And the Lee Spring Army doesn't get involved in that stuff. But still, thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. But sadly, that's the wrong invoice. We are the PSYOPs. We are the PSYOPs activity branch. We are actually the ones who conduct all the psychological operations out there, wherever those may be. But still, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
May not be wet work, but it's good, honest, moist work. But anyways, after that lame joke, we're moving on to our next one, which goes to S. Langston, who puts in a $20 donation and says, don't forget to get your ammo from Lake City. And did your short war summer get taken down? Question mark.
Yes, it did get taken down by my own hand, S. Langston. I got to thank you so much for the incredible support. And to answer why it was taken down, I took it down because I just was not happy with it. It wasn't really doing what I was hoping it would do. Whenever we make a news summary, we gauge the success of the summary and how much people are enjoying it off of how many views it's getting per minute. And that tells us how enjoyable it is, because if loads of people are watching, then we know that people are really enjoying the news and it's something people want to hear. And if not a lot of people are hearing it, then we try and figure out what we did wrong and try and correct that, so that way it's more enjoyable for more people to hear. Today's video was doing so bad, it was abysmal. It was just to let y'all know, in the first hour, the normal number of views that we get on a video in a minute is about 1,000 views a minute for about the first hour, all the way through. And today it was down around 220 views, and it was dropping rapidly. And when I saw that, I said, no one's enjoying this. No one wants to even hear this news today. And not only that, apparently it's not even high quality enough, because there are less people watching it now than there were at the beginning. So we decided to pull it today because this channel is all about quality. And I know a lot of people who watched it are probably going to say that it was probably a quality video, and to that, I thank y'all for flattering us. But I have incredibly high standards when it comes to what we put out here on this channel. If something does not meet those standards, I would rather pull it and just not have a news video this day than keep it up and keep low standards as an existing thing. We put in a lot of work into this channel, and the news we collect, the thumbnails we make, the titles that are made, and everything else in between to make sure that we give y'all the best news videos that y'all can find out there, hopefully. And so today's video just didn't meet the mark, and that's why it ended up being taken down. It wasn't YouTube that took it down, it was actually myself that took it down, just because I simply wasn't happy with it. But rest assured, tomorrow there will be a lot of news. We know that for sure. Matthew will be the one making the video tomorrow, so we will see. We will see if the news tomorrow is something that y'all want to hear and something that's enjoyable for y'all. But also,
I have a feeling that I'll probably have a good topic to cover tomorrow. Well, not a good topic, but a big topic.
Yeah, I have a feeling it will be a big topic. Not a great one, but a big one. And also, I will not forget to get my ammunition from Lake City. And let me see. Lake City ammo for sale. Is there any of that out there still? Lake City ammo review on ammo.com. Oh, man. Look at this. Cons from ammo.com about Lake City Army ammunition plant. Limited caliber selection despite claiming to be the largest ammunition plant in the world. Are they stupid? It's an Army ammunition plant. It's huge because they produce volume. They don't produce your stupid, like, 3090 cartridge. They're not there to make every single squibbit in the world. They're there to make the ones that the Army buys. U.S. military is their primary concern / customer, so civilians are limited in accessibility to this ammo. It shoots a bit dry. What the hell? what type of arguments?
It's dry. What do you want to shoot wet?
Yeah. That's the wet division. Like they're like, I want my ammo wet, please. I would love my wet ammo. But let's see here. Let me go look. Yeah, I'm 18. So let me go over here to Gun Broker.
Oh, you're 18.
Yeah, I'm 18. Of course I am. I'm a grown boy. But let's see here. Oh wow, they Lake City ammo is actually really cheap. It's like 20 cents a round. That is incredibly cheap, actually. Oh my lord! Okay, I'm gonna have to go do some looking here after I get off air, because there's a lot of it, like a load of it out there that you can get. And I think I'm gonna have to go and grab some of this stuff because it is wildly cheap. I mean, like it's like 20 cents a round. Usually 5x6 these days, it's like 40 cents a round. So this is actually really good. I'm really happy with this stuff. But I will not forget to get my Lake City Army ammunition plant ammo. And the one I love the most is 30-06. They don't even make that stuff anymore. Like the last time they made it was like in the 50s or the 60s. But the stuff's great. I mean, it's incredible stuff, and it's what I use in my M1 Garens whenever I'm shooting them, because it's a low enough pressure, because it was really made for them, that those M1 Garens can actually tolerate the pressures. So with that, thank you so much once again, your 5th super chat ever, S. Langston, and helping this channel to keep on running, because folks like you help to make this thing possible. And if it wasn't for folks like you who were throwing in their 5th super chat tonight, we wouldn't be able to be on air. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a massive amount of support from Wellness LSA Latvia, who puts in a $111 donation. And that is extremely generous support, Wellness, and thank you very much for that support. And sorry for not sounding more upbeat. I'm barely hanging in there. But Wellness says, hello, Forcers. As much as you love your job, I love mine. I'm a freelancer hoof trimmer, and I have a great honor to trim the best cows in Latvia. And my dream is to travel to the USA someday to work there for more experience. And do you think that it would be possible, and how? And LSA and Heart NAFO.
Hey, huge shout out to the Lee Spring Army. Long live the Lee Spring Army. And a huge shout out to NAFO as well. A great group out there. And also, Wellness LSA Latvia. Love the name. It's a great name. To answer your question, also, not to answer your question, but to address your statement, that is really cool to hear that you're a freelancer hoof trimmer for cows. That is incredibly cool. I actually didn't know that such a job existed, actually. I just thought that was something that the ranchers took up themselves, or the dairy farmers took up, was the hoof trimming. I didn't know that was an actual specialized job. That's really cool. To answer the question the best I can, if you wanted to come to America, the land of opportunity, the American dream. And if you want to come here and trim hoofs for cows here, you could probably try and get with the Department of Immigration and see if you would be considered a skilled laborer. I believe that would be the category that you would be looking for. Maybe I'm not sure if hoof trimmers is like a skilled labor position. I would assume that it is, because it probably takes some skill to be able to do that. If so, you might actually be able to come in to America on a work visa, which is called a green card here, and you would be able to probably travel around the country and get work as a hoof trimmer to get more experience. Or maybe you could I think that's really the only way I can think about it. I was trying to come up with another option there. I think that's the best I can think about it, and I'm not really a big expert on how the immigration laws work here in the United States, or how in the world a foreign citizen could enter the United States and start trying and work here. I understand that usually with a normal visa, like a tourist visa or a travel visa, you actually cannot work inside of the United States during that time. It's technically illegal, and you could be deported if found out. So you'd actually have to get some kind of a work visa or something similar to come into America and be able to do that. But that would be really cool. You could travel all over. Cattle is such a big industry here in the United States. Actually, to get some information on that, let me go type in the cattle industry, USA. Let's see here. The sector at a glance. So it looks like the USDA has an entire section on this, and oh my lord. Goodness gracious. Cattle production is the most important agricultural industry in the United States, consistently accounting for the largest share of total cash receipts for agricultural commodities. In 2023, cattle production is forecast to represent about 17% of the $520 billion in total cash receipts for agricultural commodities. That is crazy. That is huge. But let's see here. Let's see, cattle cycles average 8 to 12 years. What else do we have? So, interestingly enough, it's actually while it's becoming more expensive, the amount of million heads, which, cattle are counted by heads. So, you count them by, if one cow has one head, that's one cow. So that's what this measurement's measuring at the moment. The amount of cattle in America in every category has actually been steadily decreasing since 1975. And now, instead of it being at its peak of around 130 million heads, it's now down to around about 90 million heads. But at the same time, it's apparently a larger portion of the agricultural sector now than it was in the past, as far as the as far as the cash it makes per year. So it's actually a huge industry here in America. And when you look at this, and you add together each category, that means, let me see here, 70. There's about 160 million cows, approximately, here in the United States right now. That is crazy when you think about that. If I'm reading this correct, if I'm reading this chart correct, it means there's about 130, 160 million cows here in the country right now. That is about one cow for every 2 Americans. That is insane. And so there would be a lot of work here, especially with that many cows. And so I hope that you could get here to America, and I hope that you'd be able to go around and trim hoofs all you'd want, because that seems like a really cool job, and I bet you it's fun working out there around cattle or dairy farms and doing stuff like that. This is, dude, it is crazy to me. Like, look at this. And out of all of these cattle, only a small amount of them are actually dedicated to dairy and beef. Most of them just are there for no purpose at the moment. They don't even have a defined purpose. They just exist.
What are they doing? Like what are they up to?
I guess they're just vibing, it's like cows are only used for one of two things: beef or dairy, and then the byproducts, from beef or leather and other things. So I don't know what the other cattle are being used for, like the ones that just say other cattle and calves. Like, what are those used for? Let's see if they actually explain that.
There's no like wild cow like anymore, is there?
No, there was really never such a thing as wild cows. Funnily enough, if humanity died tomorrow, like if all of mankind died tomorrow, all of the cattle around the world would probably die within the course of several days after that. Cows would not exist. There are like ox, like wild ox and things like that. I think those are the closest relatives to cattle outside of domesticated cattle, and those are really completely different than cattle. If any of those cattle were able to make it into the wild, they will eventually kind of revert a little bit into like normal ox and stuff like that, or normal wild cows, but that would be pretty tough. Most of them would just end up dying because they really have no natural instincts, because they're such a domesticated animal and have been with humans for thousands of years. They just kind of lost all of these evolutionary instincts that would have led them to be able to survive in the wild.
All I know is with this economy in the shape it's in right now, those cows can't afford to be doing nothing. I say put them to work.
Man, I say these cattle ought to be in the stock market brokering. Like, this is bullshit. Like, this is stupid. This many cows are doing nothing.
What it is, they're just freeloading, eating the grass and everything. Like, we can't have this, man. There's more freeloading cows than there are working cows.
Really, there is. I mean, this right here, Matthew, is the definition. I mean, this is literally, Matthew, the definition of freeloading right here. Like, there are so many cows that just do nothing. We get them in some jobs. Have you ever wanted to work in a factory? Like, just imagine cows trying to make car antennas in a factory. But
I've heard rumors amongst this gray area on the graph, the unemployed cows, the sort of like freeloading cows. There's a particular cow in there called Hot Dog Boy.
Oh no!
Who needs to get real and get with it too.
Oh man, they're going to butcher me and turn me into hot dogs. Oh man, I'm suffering from withdrawals. They're not giving me the right kind of feed. Oh, man.
That's what happens when you take the cows off the RBST or whatever they call it, that like antibiotics they give the cows or whatever. You take them off that and they're like, I'm fiending for that antibiotic.
But man, they actually write a lot on the USDA about this. Oh wait, hang on, look at this. Percent share of U.S. beef export markets in 2022. Oh my god, dude. Japan and South Korea are mogging. Look at this. They account for like 50%.
Oh yeah, man. Those the Japanese and also the South Koreans, mainly I think the Japanese, the way they treat those cows is super nice, like super nice for the cows. They also make that Wagyu where they like manicure and like treat the cows very nice to make sure that beef is very tender.
Well, yeah, but this is us selling our meat to them. They make up 23% of our exports. We ship our meat to them.
I thought it was like cows like being shipped over there.
No. This is beef. Like, this is just raw beef being shipped over there.
They want that rough American beef. They said, screw that nice Japanese beef. We want that American beef.
Man, because the reality, the truth of it. If the Japanese treated every single cow like a Wagyu cow, there just wouldn't be enough beef to go around. They got to get some of that American beef up in there. Because, in the reality, when you really think about it, for normal run-of-the-mill beef, American beef is the best in the world. There's no doubt.
I mean, I would say so. Depending on how you cook your steak, it can be either good or bad. But to me, I don't see the point in pampering the cows like they do. Like, are we really gonna put the cow up in a 5-star hotel like Moscow? Like, that's basically what the Russians are doing at this point. They're using the oligarchs as cows. They're putting them up in the 5-star hotels and treating them like a Wagyu beef, and then they come in and smack them down.
Yeah, they do. And I'm like, why do we do that? Because it doesn't make the beef taste any better. I'm sure you could just get the beef, of the Wagyu beef that you're looking for with the right breed of cow, and not only that, the right amount of exercise. You could get that marbling out of any cow, I believe, no matter if you're treating them well or treating them bad. But beyond that, this is interesting. Beef import sources in 2022, Canada made up 30%, but we also export 8% of our beef to Canada. That makes no sense. But beyond that, we import a lot of beef from Canada, and then a lot from Mexico, and then a lot from Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, and then everyone else. So that's interesting. I love looking at charts like these, because it just tells you so much about different aspects of the economy. Who would have ever thought that cattle is this interesting? But nevertheless, it is. And I got to thank you so much, Wilderness Latvia LSA, for being a part of such an interesting part of the world economy, which is the cattle trade, the trade on dairy, beef, and other kinds of cow-related products. But nevertheless, thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running, helping us to keep this thing rolling. I hope I was able to give you at least some ideas and pointers about how to come to the United States. But if you ever have any real questions, the best, well, not the best, but the biggest thing about America is the amount of bureaucracy we have. So you can always contact the Department of Immigration here in the United States and ask them about how to come over to America, because I'm sure they would be able to help you exactly with what you need, exactly what you're looking for to be able to come over here and start up a career and a job here in the old US of A as a hoof trimmer. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that quite well. And also, I see a lot of people talking about different things in the chat, particularly about beef. And I see that someone called Global Guacho, I believe, saying Argentinian beef is the best. Let me hang on. I gotta check this. Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. It is?
Hang on, no. the gaucho or the guacho is pretty much a South American cowboy. So when I saw them say Argentinian beef is the best, I was like, you would say that, wouldn't you? I was like, you would say that. I have never had Argentinian beef, but I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, Global Guacho. I don't know how to pronounce that, so if I'm pronouncing that right or wrong, either way, sorry about that. But when I go down to Chile one day on vacation, I'm going to have myself some Argentinian beef and compare it to the beef we have here in America. Because if it's better, I will tell you. I will admit defeat and say that it is in fact better. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one is going to go to Steve T, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Steve, for that support. He says, take a live chat question. Oh, and Fridays, we have a shot every time you say y'all. And Steve, I'm calling cap. Because if you did that and you took a shot every time we said y'all, you would probably be having alcohol poisoning by now. And that would be rough. But you know, it doesn't say shots of what, though. It could be shots of water or something. So I don't know. But Steve, thank you very much for that support. And it's not Friday yet, but it's getting close. But Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to thank you so much for the support, Steve T, and helping this channel keep on running. And I got to say, we do say y'all a lot. It's a very southern thing, and so it's like saying you guys or you all or something like that. In other parts of the country, we say y'all. And it's just very normal for us, so we don't even think about it. But still, thank you so much for enjoying this channel, Steve T, and supporting it and helping to keep it running. And I pity you. I pity the fool that plays that drinking game because livers explode on this channel from that one. That's a bad one. But still, thank you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one is going to go to Panama Floyd, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Panama, for your support as well. He says, Enforcer Matt and the Enforcer, 20 cents a round. If it's not CCS, cheap Chinese stuff, that will blow up in your hands, buy out the whole store. A question from the chat, please. And I'm telling you what, 20 cents a round, that is a good price for ammunition. And also, funnily enough, I actually went to the grocery store today, and I was at the checkout, and it was Costco, actually. So the two fellows were sitting there talking about guns, of all things. I was like, huh, interesting. So the cashier and the fellow who like puts the stuff in the grocery cart was saying, yeah, what's your concealed carry, Mike? And the other guy said, I only carry a 22 because that's the most reliable handgun of all time. I was like, oh my God, he doesn't carry a 22 for personal defense. Please don't tell me he's carrying that. I think he was serious, though. And then the other guy's like, nah, man, a 9 is the only way to go. He said, I'm going to whip out the 9 and just go to town on somebody. I was like, oh my God, man. People are crazy.
Dude, I might just go to town right now. And you're like, whoa. Wait a minute. We got to check out first, man. Hang on. They're like, hold up, time out. But still, like yes, if it's 20 cents around, I'm buying. Like, I'm telling you that I'm buying right now because you got to take advantage of a deal when you see it in the gun world. But beyond that, I didn't even hear that story today at all. But one thing I would say, as far as concealed carries go, my favorite concealed carry would be a 32 ACP, which Matthew knows, or a 9x18 Makarov. Those are fairly good to me. I think they're compact enough. I like them. And not only that, 32 ACP, it's solid. I mean, you know, you can't go wrong with 32 ACP as I look at my rusting 1903. But with that, thank you so much once again. I'm going to have to really start to oil that thing down here after stream and take care of that. But still, thank you so much once again for support. Thank you for giving me a word of wisdom there because I can't disagree with that at all. You got to take advantage of a deal like that when you find them. And with that, thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Phil Mayanis. And he got me. Good job, Phil.
Dang it.
He put in a $20 donation. And that's Jenna Tolles. He said I was finally able to change my name from Jenna Tolles. I'm sorry, that was tasteless. Well, I gotta tell you what, you got me with this one. You didn't get me with your first name, but you got me with this one. Thanks very much, Phil. Enforcer, what say you?
Dude, I actually clenched up when I heard that. I was like, no way. I was like, no way. He just read that off. I was like, take it. But still, thank you so much for the support, Jenna, now Phil, for helping this channel to keep on running and supporting this thing. And also getting Matthew, you got him good. you got him good right there. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that the best we possibly can. There's no better way for us to address that. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this thing to keep on rolling. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and the next one is going to go to Uncovered Cube, who puts in a 10 and says the best news coverage, LSA, and take one from the chat.
Hey, and you know it. It is the best news coverage, Uncovered Cube. And I got to thank you so much once again for enjoying the best news coverage there is. And long live the Lee Spring Army. And we will make sure to take one from the chat. So what do we got, Matthew?
And the one from the chat is going to go to, guess who? Kennard. He says, would the F-16s be able to stop the Russian glide bomb issue? Or does Ukraine have a different purpose for wanting them so bad?
Ukraine has a million purposes for wanting the F-16. Anti-radar missions, air-to-ground missions, air-to-air missions. The F-16 can do it all. Of course, dealing with the glide bombers is probably one of those reasons, but it's only one of many, in my opinion. And so with that, well, I'm about to freaking gasp for air over here from a hiccup. So with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much, Uncovered Cube, for sponsoring that live chat and also being the first super chat of the night. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, I'm curious, because I've seen actually a couple of people in the live chat defend using 22 long rifle or 22 period for self-defense carry, for personal carry. What is the overall consensus in the chat? Would you use 22 for your self-defense, like personal carry, or is that pretty much ruled out? Because for me, I don't think rimfire is reliable enough to carry it to depend on to basically depend your life on it. So I'm always going with centerfire, like 9mm, 380, something like that. But that's just me. But I think the Enforcer's in the centerfire camp as well.
Yeah, I'm in the centerfire camp. It's just smaller calibers because I think 9mm and 45 ACP are a little too big for concealed carry. That's more so of like an open carry kind of a thing. For concealed carry, I go with smaller rounds like 9x18 or 32 ACP or 380. Those are kind of like the best concealed carry rounds I can think of in my head, just because of their size. They're larger size rounds for what you can get as a concealed carry. They're still center fire, and they're still fairly solid. I won't diss 22 long rifle though, because it's a great planking round. It's fun if you have a 22 long rifle, and it's fairly cheap. It used to be a lot cheaper though. I remember back when I first got into shooting, you could get 22 long rifle for like 2 cents a round. Now I think it's gotten up to about 6 cents a round, so a 300% increase. But still, it is what it is. It's still one of the cheapest rounds out there. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Someone's carrying a 223 as a concealed carry. Well,
what?
That's a well.
Man, the smallest 223. The smallest one of that I'm aware of is an AR pistol. So let me know how you're putting that down your pants.
I don't even know how the hell you do that. I'm like, dang, what the 223? It's a concealed carry, dude. Carry around the AKS 74U crank off in your pants as a concealed carry. That would be a cool one too. But anyways,
man, that would be a tough one to fit down the leg of a pants. And good lord, that would have a bad look.
1 second, AK crank. Hang on, I gotta go show you this, Matthew. Oh no, I don't want to look for buying one. I just want to show a picture, dude. I'm gonna whip out that crank. I'm gonna whip out a crank on him. Just concealed carry this little fella around.
I want to know who concealed carries like Mace LSA said a 500 Magnum. Who's carrying around the big boy?
Man, I would conceal carry a 44 Magnum if I could, and you know it.
What conceal? But conceal and that gun doesn't go together though. That doesn't work.
I know, but I'd do it if I could. That's what I said. I would do it if I could.
That's basically open carry.
man, 44 Magnum is to instill fear. That thing is the fear monger right there. I don't even think that, to be quite honest, I don't think that thing's even appropriate for open carry because it's menacing just to even see it. When you see one of those things, everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's a 44 Magnum." And it's like, yeah, and then if you get it bigger than 44 Magnum, it's still in that menacing camp. It's just it's like menaces people. Not saying that
to say that 44 Magnum is concealable. That's like saying that somebody's peaceful as a bull. It's like simply doesn't work.
Man, that's like, isn't that phrase from Star Trek from that one where they were like on the planet that turned into Rome? They Maximus or Flavius or whatever. You're as peaceful as a bull. Is that what you just got that from?
No, actually, that's coming with that on the spot.
Oh, well, that's where the phrase came from. I was like you made me remember the actual scene. I was like, did you just get that from Star Trek? But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. But thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to VP the King, who puts in a $10 donation and says, congratulations on 100,000 subscribers and the silver plaque. Showing my support from Key Largo, Florida, LSA,
and Key Largo, Florida, as opposed to Moral.
Wow.
Whoa, watch out. Watch out. Oh, Key Largo, all the way down here in the Florida Keys. Hey, isn't that cool? There's Key West. That's like Mare West from Family Guy. Huh. Anyways, let's go up here and check this place out. Key Largo. No! Okay, there we go.
Wow.
Wow! All right, now. Yes. America. Sandal Factory Outlet. Family Store. The Family Salvation Army Store. CVS. Walgreens. Burger King, Mattress Firm, Domino's. These are names that every American holds dear to their heart as they continue to defend liberty and democracy around the globe. It's places like Starbucks, Cuban food, discount liquors. These are places that Americans love dearly. But still, I gotta say, this looks like Florida. Like, this looks like what I remember Florida to look like. We haven't been down there in years, actually. I think the last time we were in Florida was... let me think. It was like 6 years ago or something like that. So it was a long time ago. But still, it was fun down there. And I would go again if I could. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that well. And thank you once again, VP the King, for congratulating us on getting that subscriber plaque. And congratulating us on getting 100K subscribers. We're actually up to a whopping 183,402 subscribers as of right now. And we're entirely honored for your congratulations. Thank you so much once again, and long live the Elite Spring Army. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one is going to go to Heather Fitzgibbon, LSA, and also Eternal Darkness. They each put in a $10 donation, and I don't believe they left a comment. But thank you very much, Heather and Eternal Darkness, for that support and help to keep our channel running. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I have to thank the both of you. I have to thank first Eternal Darkness for putting in the Game Boy, wearing the cool sunglasses. Thank you for that, and thank you for being one of our European viewers as well, Eternal Darkness. And also, I have to thank Heather Fitzgibbon LSA for being an absolute old guard and a legend of this channel, and throwing in the Shiba Inu cuddling a heart. That seems a little bit barbaric when you think about that in a literal sense, but beyond that, that is pretty cool and very nice of you. And I thank you so much for that, Heather Fitzgibbon, helping this channel to keep on rolling. It means a lot to us, and if it wasn't for folks like both of y'all, we wouldn't be able to be here tonight, getting to chit-chat with all of y'all about the events and happenings of the day. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Sarah A., who puts in a 10 and says congratulations on the plaque.
Hey! And thank you so much, Sarah A., for congratulating us on that plaque. We're happy to have that plaque, because that plaque shows that we've done something. We cover war news on YouTube, and we're somehow in YouTube's good graces. How did that happen? I don't know. It's just like, really, when you think about that, I don't know how that happened. But we're happy that it happened, because it's actually kind of nuts that we're in YouTube's good graces running this channel, because usually YouTube is not too happy with channels that cover things relating to war, but they actually enjoy this channel because we cover it as news, the way it should be covered. So thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, Sarah A., because folks like you help to make this thing possible. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, Enforcer, have you seen a super chat from Joseph M. Sika, by the way? Because I'm not seeing it on my end. I want to know if it's a glitch.
Let me see here. Let me check. Joseph M. Sika. Joseph M. Sika. Joseph M. Sika. I'm not seeing those in the spreadsheet that the YouTube control room has either. So.
Oh, wait a minute. He said he's gonna put them in, but he said you get it. I was thinking maybe you said have you gotten them already. So I think I misread it, but I think he's putting them in.
Okay, good. I was getting panicked.
I understand you now, Joseph. My tired brain and my poor old self. There's one right there. We're going to go ahead and address it right now because we made a whole stink about that. Joseph MC can put in that 5. He said, "This is just a person suggesting something. Don't make it about politics, and we will oblige that." He says, "Just answer the damn questions." Incoming live question. Answer from chat.
And yeah, we'll get a live chat. I didn't know what that meant for a second. But I do have to thank you so much for the support, Joseph MCK, and helping this channel to keep on running. And I agree. It should not be about politics. Everyone makes it about politics. It doesn't have to be. People who make it about politics are very, very narrow-minded. That's the best way I can explain it. Very two-dimensional people, very shallow people. Because, you know, if you ever look at this channel, we don't cover politics on this channel. We don't even pick a side on politics. And we still end up having the most unified community on YouTube. We've gotten crap in the past for not picking a political side. From other YouTubers, from people who have watched this show, loads of people. And so it's something to me that always sticks out. I'm always like, why the hell does everyone want us to get into politics? Does everyone want us to be a part of this disease for the most part that like afflicts the public mind these days, that leads to illogical conversations on every single degree and every single regard? Do people really want us to get into that? Luckily, the answer is no, because a lot of y'all are here solely for the purpose that we do not get into politics, and you all just hear your news and enjoy the news for the day, and not get your political dogma from one side or the other. And that's something that I really enjoy a great deal. And I got to thank you so much for appreciating that, Joseph MC, and also supporting this channel so that way we can help this thing to keep on running. And also, Matthew, we have the second super chat from Joseph MC. Would you like to read that now?
Yes, we'll read it now. And this second one from Joseph Masika is a $50 donation. And Enforcer, can we address those ones?
Let's see. No.
Joseph said it was not going to be political, but I read it and I saw one word. And I said, "Oh no, oh no."
I said,
"Oh no,
oh god,
oh no, oh no, no."
Oh my lord! I thank you so much for the support, Joseph Msika. I thank you for the massive support and helping this channel to keep on running. I'm going to read it, but Joseph, I'm actually going to have to alter it a little bit, so that way I can actually talk about it, because with the way it's worded, people will take it in a political way. Now, would I take that question in a political way? No, I wouldn't, because it's more so of just a question about was this a viable plan back in the day or not. It doesn't really have to do with the particular person that brought up the plan. It just has to do with the idea. The problem is, however, and I'm going to have to take a moment to explain this. The problem is, however, is that while we have a no politics rule, there are some people who watch this channel that on both ends are very politically minded. And so when we even bring up names of politicians that are of one group or another, it usually ends up bringing out the kind of stuff that we try and avoid on this channel, especially in the live chat. People who go, you know, so-and-so belongs in the ditch, they need to be executed by firing squad, and, you know, all that stuff. And so, sadly, I cannot read the question as it is. I can adapt it a little bit, and then I can answer it that way. Hopefully that's good. So, to read the question, here is the question. So, do you guys think, like when I super chatted, I thought Patton was right to keep it going all the way to Moscow. Do you think when a former president made plans to attack Iran when in office, and generals persuaded him, he might have persuaded him against it, I'm supposing. I didn't see that part. He might have been right. It's always a little tough to say with a preemptive invasion of a country whether that's a right thing to do or not. In the historical modern mindset, it's actually considered to be a bad thing to do. Presidents that either continued an occupation of a country inside of the Middle East or Central Asia, like Iraq and Afghanistan, or actually started off those invasions, are usually not considered, usually not thought of fondly in those routes. They're usually considered to have wasted American lives because a lot of the public in the citizenry do not understand the strategic imperatives and the strategic objectives of the United States when conducting those invasions and occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan. So it really weighs into a public sphere kind of a deal with saying if someone's right or wrong, and it doesn't actually matter if it is right or wrong. It just matters what the public thinks as the large part of what they like or don't like. That's sadly and fortunately how democracy works at the end of the day, is whether people really like something or not. But to talk about the preemptive invasion of Iran, it would have been a heavy-handed thing to do in one route, and it would have been a preemptive thing to do in another. Usually people condemn invasions. A lot of people actually condemned the United States when we invaded Iraq in 2003 and then occupied the country subsequently. And a lot of people also did slightly the same about Afghanistan, but not too much on the same degree, because that, of course, was where the Taliban was running an entire country, and they were considered a terrorist organization by all around the world. So going off of that, in some instances, it would have been a good move, because we certainly would be avoiding a lot of what we're seeing today. The problem is, however, is that we would probably have gotten tied up again in an occupation of a country. We would have gotten tied up in the occupation of Iran. And also at the same time, it seemed to be a lot more popular at the moment. And I'm trying to step on eggshells here about answering this, because I'm trying to make sure that we don't answer this in a political vein in any way. It was more popular at the time to actually withdraw from the Middle East, because at that very moment when that idea was brought up, we were actually starting to slowly withdraw forces from Afghanistan, and we were also withdrawing U.S. forces in large part out of Iraq after we had defeated ISIS in around 2018. So going off of that and trying to answer this the best I can, I can't say it was a right or wrong decision. I can only say that there would have been pros to preemptively invading Iran at that time, or conducting military intervention in Iran, if you want to call it that. There would have been a decent amount of pros to that. But at the same time, there would have been a decent amount of cons to it. There probably would have been another prolonged decade or 2 decades long occupation inside the Middle East. There probably would have been a massive amount of government expenditure trying to keep U.S. occupational forces inside of Iran. We probably would have tried to create some sort of an interim government, or even government build, a lot like we did in Afghanistan, and that may be to varying levels of success. In Iraq, we ended up with a fairly good level of success. The government that we installed in Iraq still exists to this day. However, the government we installed in Afghanistan, or built in Afghanistan, collapsed as soon as it collapsed before U.S. forces had even left the country. So that was, as far as government building in Afghanistan went, that was a complete disaster. And for some reason, I'm actually believing, for the best part, that would probably be a similar scenario inside of Iran. We would probably see that government building in Iran would not be too successful, at least in the American form that we normally do it, trying to install some sort of a federal republic form of government, or some sort of a democratic form of government, and that probably would not work too well in Iran. And that is something that U.S. policymakers don't get, because no one wants to be the president that goes and invades a foreign country, the president of the leading democracy in the world, and then go, let's install a monarchy or something like that in a foreign country. It seems very undemocratic, and then it'll reflect back on the image of that president that there's some kind of an authoritarian that would really wish for the office of the president to also be a monarchy, a lot like the one they're installing overseas. That's how a lot of people would take that, although in reality, that's probably the best form of governance that will work in a place like Iran, is some kind of a constitutional monarchy, a lot like it existed before the Islamic Revolution took over, or something along those lines. So with that, I hope that addresses that well. I can't really give a clear answer on that. There's some pros and cons. It really just matters on your personal opinion in that matter, whether a preemptive invasion of Iran would have been appropriate or not. But with that, I do thank you so much for the massive support, Joseph M. Sika, and helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that answered that question well enough. So that way, I answer the question, but make sure that we don't go down a political vein, because it was pretty close. It was a close call, so I had to make sure to change it a little bit. But still, thank you so much once again. And Ron Burrell Jr., you are correct. We actually did install the Shah in Iran. But at the same time, we also did something, there was a couple of things that we did that wasn't that good. For example, when the Shah visited America and kind of ended up staying in America for quite a while due to health complications, we should have actually told him that he needs to go back to Iran. That was kind of one of the big reasons why the Iranian government was overthrown, is that he was not there. Also, there was a whole bunch of other things. For example, the Shah was less of a constitutional monarchy and close to an absolutist monarchy, so he actually had a lot of control over the country, more so than, say, the royal family would in the UK. So with that, I hope that does address that well on that end as well. And thank you so much once again for support, Joseph M. Sika, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the live chat requested by Joseph M. Sika goes to O-Tubes, who says, I heard that the U.S. may stop supporting Israel. Your thoughts?
Oh, no, we would not. As far as things go in the Middle East, Israel may not be, and I do understand this, Israel may not be a popular friend in America anymore, and it seems to actually be dwindling from what I can tell unanimously. Well, it's not like an overwhelming decision that everyone hates Israel now in America. It's just that Israel being America's #1 ally, like a lot of people thought in the past, it does seem to be an idea that is starting to wane a little bit here in the United States, from what I can tell, in all directions. So that's a fairly non-political statement of me to make. It seems as though we may not be as gung-ho for Israel as we were in the past, but the reality is that due to the nature of the region, we will end up being an ally with them well into the foreseeable future and continue to support them. Because rather than Israel, the only other ally we really have in the area is the Saudi Arabians, and they're more of a lukewarm ally at the moment. Israel is more of a harder line ally, if there are any in the Middle East that we have, and so we'll probably continue to be friends with them well into the future until there is a suitable replacement. And then you may actually see the final end of American support for Israel is when we find a new long-term ally within the region. But that most likely will not be happening for the next, I would believe, 2 to 3 decades. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And thank you so much, Joseph M. Seeker, for sponsoring that live chat. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Old Man Gibb, who puts in a $10 donation. And thank you very much, Old Man Gibb, for that support. He says, thanks a million for the good work y'all do. And take one from the chat. And LSA.
And LSA! And thank you so much, Old Man Gibb, for the support. And thank you so much for enjoying the work we do. And we will make sure to take one from the live chat. And so, Matthew, what do we got?
And this one is going to go to Governor Ivey, who says, my question, do y'all think part of the reason Putin threatens anyone who supplies F-16s is because Russia is majorly lacking AA in interior of country?
Probably so, but we know that the F-16s are not going to be used against mainland Russia. That's a guarantee that the Ukrainians gave to get the F-16s in the first place. We know that they're going to be used on Russian forces in Ukraine, and he's probably very concerned because the F-16 is a very potent weapon against Russian air defense systems, a lot like was proved in the Gulf War back in 1991. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for sponsoring that live chat, Old Man Gibb. I hope I answered that very well, and long live the Lee Spring Army. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang, who puts in a 10 and says, I'm unable to join for now because I'm too busy listening Ukraine war discussion from the Institute. Dear LSA, I look forward to your live chat question, please.
And thank you so much for supporting AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang. Hey, it is okay. There's many things to watch out there. And I got to thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And we will make sure to get a live chat in your honor. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
And the live chat question is going to go to Ryan Clark, who says, can you please look at Tokmak today or tomorrow and let us know what's going on there?
Yes, I will. I'll make sure to look into that, and thank you for notifying me about that. And so with that, thank you so much once again for supporting AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang and sponsoring that live chat. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Brittany Taz, who puts in a $10 donation and says, Poco Max, Wolverines. Rosomaki.
Maki. It's like a Maki, you know, like with the H.
Rosomaki.
Yeah! Wolverines! And thank you so much for the support, Brittany Taz, and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang once more, who puts in a 10. It says, another live chat, please. Another one. And we shall grab another one. And this one is going to go to Mark Hooper, who says, if Iran militarily focuses closer to home, will there be the potential for no Shahed drones going to Russia?
I would say, good question. Reread that again, Matthew.
Mark said, if Iran militarily focuses closer to home, will there be the potential for no Shahed drones going to Russia?
Yes, certainly. Especially if they're even trying to conduct long-range attacks on Israel, there will probably be a chance that there are not a lot of Shahed drones or any being shipped to Russia. And so with that, I hope that does address that live chat fairly well. Thank you so much once again, AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang, for sponsoring a second live chat. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one is going to go to Richard Philpott, who puts in a 10 and says, the missiles in your video earlier today look like F-16 bodies to me, the ones being transported in Israel.
And I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. But I can assure you, I can wholeheartedly assure you, that they were actually Arrow 2 missiles. You can see one right there, and I'll show you. Well, actually, sadly, I will not be able to, because we are getting a little bit pressed for time, actually, because I'm actually seeing the list of people that we still have to get to here. But it was actually an Arrow 2 missile, like you're seeing right here, from what we know. But with that, I thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, Richard Philpott. Might be F-16s, but from what we understand, they were Arrow 2 missiles being moved to Elit for the batteries, the Arrow 2 batteries that are in that area. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
In the next one goes to Hoodoo, Texas, who puts in a $10 donation. He said, Marmot 1605, U.S. National Gallery of Art, quote unquote, brushed with brown and black wash. Pointed the brush with black and brown ink, with white gouache and watercolor over traces of graphite on burnished paper.
And I thank you, Hoodoo, Texas, for sharing that description of the marmot with us. And we'd love to know that Jacopo Lugosi, or whatever his name was out there with that burnished paper and that traces of graphite. Sounds a lot like the Russians near Chernobyl reactor. Burnished paper and traces of graphite. But still, thank you.
Didn't see graphite. There's no graphite on the ground. He's insane. Get him to the infirmary.
Cut the phone lines. Stop the spread of misinformation. You can't let that get out. We can stop them.
He's a good commie bastard. A loyal one.
People are going to be remembering us for centuries and what we did for the communist bloc.
And then everyone dies of radiation poisoning 3 weeks later.
Why were all the Russians speaking British? And it made no sense that all the Russian people running the reactor was speaking British.
Dude, someone's about to make a 40-minute video about that on YouTube now. The dichotomy of British accents in the Soviet Union. How the show was trying to insinuate that the British are in fact communist or something like that. But anyways, thank you so much for the support, Hoodoo, Texas. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one is going to go to Certify and John Garner. They each put in a 5 and said, LSA. And thank you both very much for that support and helping to keep the channel running. And we also have a 5 from CK Bold, who says, take a live chat question. And we shall take a live chat question. The usual number 5. And this one's going to go to O. Now, who says, why hasn't Russia used the forces, munitions, and people from Transnistria to destabilize Ukraine over the course of the last 10 years?
Because those forces are inside of Moldova for the most part, and they're actually meant to be targeting against the Moldovans. If they were to focus their attention into Ukraine, the Moldovans could probably say that this is aggressive action being taken by the Moldovans and pretty much sweep in right behind them and take out the territory that they just came from. That would be my assumption as to why they probably have not been used. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and thank you so much once again for the question, and thank you CK Bull for sponsoring that live chat question, and so with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Carrie Ann LSA, who puts in a 5, and says, a random question for the night tonight. In a fight, who would win between Godzilla and Kong? I've seen the movies, but I want your thoughts. LSA for life.
And LSA for life, baby! And thank you so much, Carrie Ann LSA and Nick, still thinking LSA, the first LSA couple, for the support. And the question is an interesting one. Godzilla versus Kong? I don't know who will win that. I don't really know a lot about them. I know one's a lizard and one's a gorilla. So you put them together, what do you get? Yeah, it's like, I don't know. But beyond that, let's see here. I would have to say...
You get a grizzard.
Man, aw, man, you get a glizzy.
Oh,
man.
Oh, no, not a glizzy.
You get a glizza. That's it. You get a glizza. Aw, man. Number 15, the glizza. But beyond that, thank you so much for the support. And I'd have to say I'm putting my bets on the lizard. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And long live the Late Spring Army. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Badger Bro, who puts in a 5 and says, Enforcer, is Ukraine softening Russian troops for NATO forces to come in and swoop in for the kill?
I don't think so. I think they're holding their defenses at the moment. Not necessarily softening, more so holding. That would be my opinion. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But still, thank you so much for the support, Badger Bro. My good old bro of the Badgers. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Made in Canada 182, who puts in a 5 and says, does that cattle count in the U.S. include Chris's mom?
Oh!
Oh. Foul. Foul. Oh.
Absolutely a tremendous Made in Canada 182. Yes, it does include Chris's mom. And it also includes the hot dog man as well in the count. Are two terrible additions to the number. But sadly, luckily, they're only a drop in the bucket. Luckily, the Glizzy man and Chris's mother don't make up a large amount of the cattle in America, but they do make up some, too, of the tens of millions of heads that exist within this country of ours. But still, thank you so much once again for the support Made in Canada 182 and having this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one is going to go to Philip Fix's LSA, who puts in a $5 donation. He says, my flag should be here tomorrow, and I might not be very active in the chat because I'm always driving, but I've been around since day 17, and Slava LSA. And Philip, I cannot wait for you to get that flag. I packed yours up, and I said, there goes Philip's flag. It's heading out, and it's taking it to the post, and it's in the post right now, and it'll be there tomorrow. Hopefully very early in the day. But thank you very much for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Philip Fixes LSA. And your flag should be there tomorrow. Rejoice. I don't know why I said it like that, but rejoice, Philip. It shall be there. And the flag of the Lee Spring Army will be flying over every corner of the country. I took a quick look at some of the addresses that we were mailing these things out to when I was at the post office today, because I had like a few minutes to just look at the box. And literally just pulling 4 of them randomly, I got totally different corners of the country. One was going to Georgia, one was going to Maine, one was going to Washington, and the other one was going to California. So it was literally all 4 corners of the lower 48. I was like, wow, that was a lucky pool right there, just finding those 4. So there are literally LSA flags in every single part of the country, every single corner of the nation, and then later on, by about April 22nd, hopefully, they'll be in every single corner of the globe. So I cannot wait, and I thank you so much, Philip Fixes LSA, for getting one of those flags, and I know that you're always here. It's just that you don't get to talk much because you're busy, Philip. Busy, I tell you. But still, thank you so much once again, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Oh my God, man. We just got a bot in here that was in here talking about, and the Lord said the spirit of Putin shall shine upon Ukraine. What the hell?
What the hell?
Man, that's like a straight up blasphemous bot right there coming in here. That's crazy.
Burn at the stake.
William said, Rick, put away the crack pipe. Yeah, Rick and the other dude, the hot dog boy. But anyways, moving on to our next one here. We have a $2 super chat from Matt McKee, who says, good morning, LSA, UK clock change. Let me say hi and hello to you, Matt.
Oh, and hello. Matthew did say hello too. I was like, oh, hello. But still, thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on rolling. Matt McKee. And good morning to you. And good morning, LSA. But still, thank you so much once again. Hope that does address that well. Also, Matthew, I really quickly have to make sure to get these 2. Chris Skolsky, who threw in a 2. It's their first super chat ever. I thank you so much, Chris, for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, I have to get Blaine Tanner, who threw in a 2 as well. And Blaine said, love the coverage, guys. And we love that you love our coverage, Blaine. And we love that you support the channel and helped us to keep running. Thank you. But still, thank you so much once again. And Matthew, I believe that actually rounds out our super chat questions, if I'm correct.
And that's going to round it out. So thank you all once again, folks, for all the super chat support tonight and helping the channel to keep on running in our woes, the health woes. But anyways, with that being said, all jokes aside, we're now moving on to our live chat questions. And tonight, we had the Morse code decoders of the stream. Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Paul Schultz, Kevin J., Rumpelstiltskin, David Millsaps, and Toxic Bananas. They said tonight's Morse reads, Russia is getting beat up and wars looming in the Middle East. The West will prevail. Long live the LSA. Slava Ukraine. Slava LSA.
That's the sound of money. That's the sound of money. Y'all hit that on the nail. That was the jackpot. Y'all got it right. Y'all got it right. But still, congratulations to y'all. Y'all hit it dead on the nail. I'm very proud of y'all. Y'all did it for the 771st day. Y'all will do it for many more days. And so, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that the literally best I can. And with that, we're going to be moving on to the live chats. But really quickly, I do have to say this. Matthew is not feeling that hot, and I'm not feeling great. I feel better. Like for some reason it like hit me like a wave. I felt really bad. I'm feeling better, but I want to make sure that we're able to get off air a little bit early so that way Matthew can get some sleep and hopefully feel better. We have a very long day ahead of us tomorrow of signing flags, folding them, packing them, and then sending them to the post office to ship. It's the final wave of American orders that we have that will be going out hopefully by the latter end of the day tomorrow or by Saturday. That's what we're hoping. So we have a lot ahead of us, and I want to make sure that we're able to get to that. So we're going to be addressing 5 live chats and then rounding out tonight's stream. And so with that, we are on to the first one.
And we actually only have 3 to cover. And this one goes to Uncovered Cube, who says, do you think the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and Europe will develop into World War III? And how do you see it playing out?
I have a feeling it will not develop into World War III because there aren't enough major powers involved in the Middle Eastern kind of a war to create a third world war. That's more so going to just be a full-on regional conflict, maybe with larger power players trying to pull a few strings, but nothing that big. The war in Ukraine, however, can turn into world war just in between the West and Russia. That is a very likely possibility. So I'd have to say the war in Ukraine has more of a potential to be a third world war than the war in the Middle East will. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And we actually have another super chat to cover. And so, Matthew, what do we got?
And this one goes to Joseph M. Sika once again, who puts in a 10 this time. It says, oh, you guys don't feel good. Oh, now I feel bad effing around with you guys. Kiki. No, like, and also, by the way, I saw somebody saying, I hope you disinfected the flags before you sent them. It's nothing like that. It's just an ongoing like health issue with me and stuff like that. So it's nothing, like flu or anything like that. It's just a little minor health issue. Or moderate, hopefully minor. But hopefully it'll go away. But thank you very much, Joseph, for the support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And yes, the flags are of no concern. We're not sick like that. It's just that sometimes we have moments that come over us, or we don't feel good. Crippling depression is what I call it. I'm just kidding. We're not depressed. Come on. But anyways, I hope that does address that well. We're not feeling that great. And thank you so much, Joseph and Seeker, for supporting this channel and saying that you don't feel that great about it. With us, hey, it's fine with me. I appreciate your support anyways, and I appreciate that you were here with us tonight and kidding around. It makes us feel a little bit better. But still, thank you so much once again. And also, huge shout out to B. Balas, who threw in a 1,000 Huff. So let me Huff currency. Aw, man. That a Hungarian foreign.
Hungry.
You're hungry for more. It's like, where are you from? But thank you so much.
Left the barbershop that day, hungry for more.
I thought it was a restaurant, not a barbershop. But all right,
I guess the restaurant.
I had a head full of blonde hair that I ate, and I left that barbershop hungry for more.
And it's like, all right,
that's really weird.
Yeah, but that's what you said. On God, that's what you said. But anyways, thank you so much for the support, B. Balas. Thank you for being a Hungarian viewer. Really cool, and thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running. Really neat place, Hungary. Maybe one day we'll be able to go there and check out the history and culture of Hungary. But nevertheless, I like your currency abbreviation, which is just Huff. It's literally just HUF, a Huff. But still, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to John Benford, who says, hey guys, I'm new to the channel. And welcome, John. He says, but I really like the show. I was wondering if y'all have heard about the UAP you spotted over the Ukraine battlefield, and what are your opinions on it?
We've seen it. I don't really know what to make of it. It wasn't a camera glitch. So I don't really know what it was, but it was quite odd. Matthew, what was your take on it?
That UAP thing, like, we haven't been able to solve it. We solved the Iran UAP situation pretty quick. It was a meteor shower right at the wrong time, right when everybody's expecting a missile attack to happen, and suddenly a meteor shower happened. So that was disproven. But the Ukrainian UAP that was caught on the drone was never disproven. And there's been soldiers coming out saying that they saw it and it was real. It was really hot and very large and very heavy. So, to me, I don't think we can rule it out that it was something that we really couldn't explain. But, you never really know. Because I'm what?
Hot, large, and heavy? That sounds a lot like Chris's mom, Matthew. Are you sure they didn't see her?
Oh. I don't know where you were going with that. But that UAP was nasty. But unfortunately, what say you?
I already addressed it. So with that, I hope.
Oh yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I threw it over to you. I was like, this is what I think. What do you think, man? I think you're like, I think this. What do you think, Andrew? I was like, oh man. I was like, oh no, we're going into the loop. But still. And with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Thank you so much for being brand new to you here, John. And I hope that was a good answer to the question for both of us. And with that, it is time for us to get to that final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person to throw in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Defender Marcia LSA, formerly known as Marcia Tucker, who said, "Is there popular support in Iran for a war against Israel? And I thought they had a lot of internal conflict, not all on the same page, and things."
Yes, I think that there may be enough support for a war, at least initially. It'll probably wane quickly, though, because usually wars become pretty unpopular pretty fast inside of a country that starts one. There are ongoing conflicts inside of Iran, but they don't seem to be anything major enough to threaten the central government and their ability to wage war on Israel, at least in the short term. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least the best I can. And 1 second, we gotta hide someone because they're trying to get into politics. And so there we go. But with that, I hope that does address that quite well. Thank you so much once again for asking an interesting question, Marcia Tucker, LSA, or Defender Marcia LSA. And thank you so much once again for being our final question of the night. With that, we have reached the end of tonight's stream. I got to thank all of y'all so much once again for watching. It has been a 3-hour and 10-minute long stream. Over the course of that 3 hours and 10 minutes, a whopping 11,000 people were on live at the peak, and 83,000 people have watched this stream before it ended tonight. We are absolutely honored by each and every single one of y'all by being here, enjoying the stream, watching it, and really getting something out of it. It means a lot to us, and I got to thank each and every one of y'all for being here with us tonight. We weren't feeling that hot, really, both of us, but I still am always more than happy to do this and get to talk to y'all about some of the leading news events that have happened today. There is no other place like the Lee Spring Army, and there's no other place I would be every single night getting to talk to an amazing group of people rather than the amazing Lee Spring Army. And so with that, thank you all so much once again for watching. We will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. Good night, good luck, stay safe, take care, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
And good night, folks, and thank you all for another great stream tonight. And of course, join us tomorrow for the Short War Summary at midday, and also the live stream at night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And thank you all for watching once more, and of course, Slava Ukraine, Hero Slava, and huge shout out to all the viewers tonight, including the haters, for helping to boost our stats. Y'all do that every night, and we love you for it. And of course, we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Yes. The Lee Spring Army sends its regards.